watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to our Meet the Candidates debate for the October 22nd municipal election in London. My name is Patrick Maloney, and I'm digital editor with the London Free Press. Thank you to the Aeolian Hall for hosting all these debates, and to everyone here who's joined us. Tonight, we'll be hearing from the candidates for London Mayor. Let's meet them now. Starting in the front row, Nina McCutcheon, Jordan Minter, Dan Leonard, Paul Paulato, Sean O'Connell, Mohammed Musa, Carlos Murray, and back to the second row, David Milley, Ed Holder, Paul Chang, Tanya Park, Vahid Baramporian, and Jonas White. Here's the format for this evening, and bear with me while I read it off my notes so I get it 100% right for each of you. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. Following that, we'll move through a series of key topics, and each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to present their thoughts on it. There will be no rebuttals during this phase, but I will cut in if a candidate is veering off topic. Once your allotted time is up, the light before you will flash red, signaling that you must now sit down and allow the next candidate to start speaking. At the end of that portion of the evening, we'll take questions from the audience, and we'll detail the timing at that time. So without further ado, let's start with our opening statements, 1 minute each, and we'll start with candidate Nina McCutcheon.
Hello, my name is Nina McCutcheon, and I'm from London, Ontario. This is my first time actually doing a debate or even running. I ran actually in 2010, but I was had to step down. This time I'm going all the way. It's my first time to be in a debate, and I am an activist and a person that desires change in London for many, many reasons. I have a dream for London, and I care about it so much. And I'm glad to be here and to take that challenge, because as a young folk in school, I had to face this kind of thing, and I shrunk back. But hey, I'm here now, right? So I'm glad that I'm able to do this.
Jordan Minter.
I expected more hooting and hollering. Okay. Not to brag, but I've won 2 elections, grade 8 and 12. I've learned a couple of things. If I can extend recess and maybe put in some new vending machines, might be 3 for 3. No, seriously, I'm a Londoner. Some of you might recognize me from a couple of shows I've had on Rogers recently. I'm very community-driven. The shows that I had a late night show and a morning talk show. We championed everything from the arts to, I would have the Red Cross on. I would have football players on. I would have the Muslim community on. I would have representation from anyone we could think of that we can help in London. And we did that show on a volunteer basis. There was no money. I may not have the business experience of a Paul Chang. I'm not even the best looking guy here. Again, damn you, Paul Chang.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Dan Leonard.
Hi, I'm Dan Leonard. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. It looks like it's a full house on a hot summer night. A real estate agent sent me an email. Why don't we make the jails bigger and the hospitals bigger and then sweep up all the streets so people like him can move more properties? The downtown isn't looking so good these days. Well, I don't believe in that approach. I think we need more places for these people to go. I think we need more programs to help them out. I think we need more arts programs. I think we need more heart. That's why I'm running for mayor.
Paul Paulato.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Pilato. The last time I sat in a group like this, it was a spelling bee. Well, we could open with BRT. I think I could take that one. Most of you don't know me, and so I'm just going to quickly introduce myself, and then we'll get into the substance. I'm a proud father of 2 children, married for 31 years, quite happily. And I've been an executive for a long period of time in the community. I've actually been a CEO for over nearly a dozen companies. I do most of my work behind the scenes, but I have done a fair bit of work in the community around the police board, around economic development, and in support of our hospital foundations. I am very thrilled to be running for mayor because I actually believe this city is an extraordinary opportunity to do something very special for all of our citizens. And I look forward to the opportunity to meet with our candidates tonight and give you an opportunity to get to know all of us better. Thank you.
Sean O'Connell.
Hello. I wish to thank our host for inviting us this evening. I'm going to take things on a bit of a more serious note. I want to speak to you about doubt. Over the course of several months, my opponents have been trying to instill doubt about BRT and our ability as a city to find our solutions to our problems. The idea that by placing doubt in your mind, you will feel more uncertain, more apprehensive, and this will lead you to make an emotional reaction, namely fear change. This discourse has been cropping up in politics all around the world, but I do not possess doubt. I understand that for us to succeed as a city and grow, we have to be bold, decisive, and create our own opportunity. I've always subscribed to the notion that running for public office means you have to hold yourself to a higher set of standards. That can be difficult for some, but the journey is worthwhile, and I'm not interested in failure. I am interested in doing the best job possible. Thank you.
Mohammed Musa.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Aeolian, Rogers, for recording this, all of you for being here, my fellow candidate, and last but not least, Patrick. I'm Mohammed Musa. Who am I? What am I doing here? I'd like to start off by saying that I'm not a politician and don't ever want to consider myself one. I prefer to consider myself a representative of the people. I'm a native Londoner, born and raised, grew up about 100 meters from here. I presently live in Ward 6. Went to Lornav, Ryerson, Central, UWO, where I attained degrees in honors chemistry, medicine, and law, which brings up why I'm here. I can think of 384,000 plus reasons why I'm here. As I mentioned, I'd like to be a representative of the people, the true voices, each and every one. Want to represent.
Thanks, Mohammed. Carlos Murray.
Hello, everybody. I am actually quite the candidate in the ways that I come from Sarnia. I ran for mayor there 6 times. This is my 2nd time here. The biggest thing, God kind of put me on this earth for a mission to get the world into a blanket idea, which was put together by a priest named Melchizedek, who actually Jesus Christ was named of the same order, and I am of the same order. What I want to do is get the public to decide on the issues. If there's an issue to be decided, I would suggest one way would be to use the internet, get a message board, and then everyone types sort of thing. They can write yes or no on an issue. But this says the freedom of petition. We can petition, but we can have a petition ignored. Oh, I never finished it. The right to rule. Time for us to take the...
Thank you, Carlos. David Milley.
Thank you very much to the Aeolian, to Rogers TV, Paul. My name is David Milley, and I believe in a bright future for London. A London that has 1 million citizens. At current growth rates, we're looking at 108 years before we get there. If we can match Canada, we get there in 58. And out of 1 million citizens, a lot of the questions that are being posed during this election become clear. The answers become focused, and we know our path. Thank you very much.
Ed Holder.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here tonight. All of us in front of you are looking to move London forward. We want to create a more exciting, exceptional, and connected city for ourselves and our kids. And Londoners are hungry for leaders to move from divisive to collaborative, from talk to results. The foundation of my election platform is that our next mayor must be able to bring leaders together from London, Queen's Park, and Ottawa to get work done for our city. Getting things done through collaborative leadership has defined my past 37 years in London. You know, it's how we got the Business Cares food drive started and how we made Rockin' New Year's Eve in Victoria Park as such a success. That we got thousands of kids to summer camp through Y for Kids and our work on the Ground Theatre Foundation and many more, and how we added 100 full-time jobs at my insurance firm. This election comes down to experience. Who has the experience in business politics and community service to bring people together and get work done for our city? I have that experience, and I look forward to putting that for you as mayor. Thank you so much.
Paul Cheng. You don't want to? You want to skip? Okay, we'll go to Tanya Park.
I believe in a city where we all prosper. I believe in a city that includes those that are struggling and invites those who are succeeding to lend a hand. I believe in that time where we as a community came together to talk about the biggest public participation in Canadian history, and we decided on a path toward prosperity for all. Since then, we have reduced our city's debt by 10%. We have lowered our unemployment rate to the lowest point it has been in a decade and have seen more than $1 billion in construction and development in our city. I want to keep this momentum going. I have the experience in running the business of this city, and I can step into the mayor's office day one and not miss a beat. I am ready to work with our development community to make sure we have more affordable housing. I am ready to work with our federal and provincial partners to address our social and affordable housing issues in our city. And I am ready to work with our nonprofit sector as they help the people that need it the most. Most importantly, I'm ready to work with and for you, because in my London,
Thank you, Tanya.
Everyone matters.
Vahid Baramporian.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming here tonight. I appreciate the time that you took to come here. My name is Vahid Baramporian, as you heard. I've been in London for about 2 decades. In Canada, I grew up in Montreal. I do speak 7 languages and I understand 9. I'm here because people have been asking me to run for the city since 2003. Different people, because of the stuff that I have done so far for the city, for the people, regardless of where they're from, and regardless of what language they speak, what religion they have. I've always worked very hard for bringing unity and diversity in our community. So I thank you very much, and I hope you ask the questions about my platforms, because I have it very clearly, and I'll be very happy to explain it to you. Thank you very much.
And Jonas White.
Hello, my name is Jonas White. Here in London, we need a strong leader, a forward-looking, solutions-based mayor. Through green, clean tech jobs and projects, we can get London on the track for a sustainable future. My personal focus is on overall efficiency. I envision London as a world-class city, a Silicon Valley of Canada, a haven for esports and gaming companies. Although, to be clear, my major priorities are always the basics: clean air, clean water, and soil. The future is bright with Jonas White. Thank you.
So we're obviously off to a great start, and now we're going to move on to the major issues portion of the debate. So these are 3 key issues the organizers of this event have predetermined, and each of the candidates will have up to 2 minutes to answer or to address each of the 3 issues. The first one is probably the biggest one, BRT. Bus Rapid Transit is London's biggest ever project and possibly its most contentious. If you could change one thing about it and be specific, what would it be? And we'll start with Jordan.
BRT, all right. Are the gloves off? Should we just go out and fight in the parking lot? Seriously? Buckle up, guys. I'm for it. What would I change? I have an uncle who's in a home. He's in a wheelchair. Went to visit him a couple of weeks ago, and some people were mounting up on the paratransit to go on a trip. And I said, how far in advance do you have to call to book one of those? And he said, 3 days. What? You can't go anywhere on a whim, I guess, if you're disabled. I would maybe like to incorporate that somehow into BRT. I know we've made great strides. I know they're all wheelchair accessible. But I don't know, maybe paratransit could come on board. Maybe we could form some sort of relationship. BRT, for me, I take the bus. I don't know if everybody up here knows how much a bus costs. $2.75, by the way. Transfer is good for 90 minutes. In Victoria, places like that, you don't get a transfer, but you can, for $5, get an all-day pass. I think that's kind of cool. Cheaper than a cab, cheaper than an Uber. I like it. I think it's going to incorporate a lot of people that didn't have these chances before to get around to better places. A lot more accessibility for students and seniors and the disabled and the working guy like myself. I work all the way up at Fanshawe and 3rd for one job. On a good day, 2 buses. On a great day, 1 bus and a long walk. On a bad day, 45-minute walk after 1 bus. We can do better. I want to do better. The government's kicking in a lot of money. Let's not take that for granted. I'm all for it, guys. Thank you.
I ride my bike, so I'll tell you that right out front. So that tells you why I got a bit of an attitude with this issue. We're the only fairly large city that doesn't have an express, efficient bus rapid transit system, is what the proponents say. So why don't we have one like the big cities? That's not a really good argument if you ask me. I can see that the logic, but this shift BRT plan isn't it. A $500 million plan that will shave the commuter time by less than 10 minutes is not a very good plan. We can do better. More rail overpasses, more underpasses, and bridges across the Thames River will have to be built to increase that commuter time, to make it faster for the people in the suburbs to come downtown. A truly rapid, efficient public transit system is what we need. Ridership has been flat and falling for 10 years since that last bus strike. Some of you may remember that, Anne-Marie DeChico. We need to get more people to jump on the bus by improving the service. Transit is generally cheaper than massive expressways if you look at the numbers side by side, but this shift plan is not the way. We can do better. If we had to change it, Warncliffe Western up on the one side is better and it's less disruptive. And on the bottom side, York Street, so all those market people don't have a problem with the trucks loading and unloading. So those are 2 small changes, but generally speaking, this is not the way for me.
Thanks, Patrick, for the question. One of the things that I've learned about in the process of knocking on doors is that BRT is clearly a #1 subject, and I get it asked very often. And the big question, of course, is always answered the same, is I oppose the current plan. And the reason is because the plan is not properly costed. It does not reflect the risk profile that could be imposed upon taxpayers down the road. And it creates potential consequences and disruptions to businesses and residents that are not necessary. But I don't think it's enough to be against something. I think it's very important to be for something. So one of the things that I undertook in preparation for running for mayor is I actually wrote an alternative transportation plan that reflected and respected all modes of transportation. It reflects everything from vehicles, transit, air, dealing with our rail situation in our city. God help us dealing with our rail situation. And also dealing with the challenges is improving our pedestrian walkways, improving the safety of our bike lanes, and also helping people move around the city. I firmly believe in mobility. I believe it's an enabler and an empowerer of citizens. It implies and creates employment opportunities throughout the city. And so I encourage you to check out my alternative plan because it's a walk before you run plan. It's measured, it's responsible, it's costed properly, and it will still accommodate much of the objectives we're looking to accomplish in the current BRT plan. And I should add one other thing, and this is probably something that people don't like to talk about, but we're looking at a future world of autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, ride sharing. It's very important for us to keep our transportation network as flexible as possible and as adaptable as possible to the changes that we're going to be experiencing, all of us, around our future mobility. So I encourage you to keep an open mind around that because this is a divisive debate, but it needs to be more than just I'm against something. It has to be what you're for. And I'm one candidate who has put forward an alternative plan. I'm proud of it. I encourage you to look at it, and I hope you'll support it. Thank you.
I've made it well known that I support BRT. I'm a daily transit user, and I know more than most that the key to any successful city is mobility, and that means transit. Our city has underfunded transit while ridership growth has actually outstripped service year upon year. You know what the three common complaints are? Schedule adherence, overcrowding, and missing passengers at the stop. How can we expect businesses and investments in the city when we aren't even willing to provide meaningful transit? I've heard many excuses and weak arguments, and they have not deterred my views. The BRT system is not an either-or proposition. It's providing another reliable option. Our roadways will be reutilized and shared with all modes of transportation. And one cannot say you believe in transit, but not this plan. That is very disingenuous. And as a city council already voted on this. They have already committed to it. They have started the TPAP process for environmental assessment back in April. They have already sent in the applications for the provincial and federal funding. But transit is more than buses. Cyclists have longed for appropriate spaces, and I'm determined to provide that. We need direct routes, and I would like to have ride sharing and cycling superhighways with way stations vis-a-vis transit hubs within the city. Whenever possible, I want to ensure that cyclists will have a separate space that is off the road to ensure their safety, because that's one of the number one things I hear from cyclists. They do not feel safe on our roads. And as it stands right now, with the electronic bus passes, when you swipe that, the city gets 38 cents in provincial gas tax. That is our way to fund transit in the forward, because right now I have a hand pass. You show that, but there's no record of how many journeys I'm making. So when people say the ridership numbers are down, that's part of the reason. We're not accurately measuring how that's working. Thank you.
I believe in transit, but not this plan. We're going to be told, and you may hear later on somebody telling us that this has been going on since 2004. This plan has been in the works since 2004. It hasn't involved any of you since that time. We were told about what was going to happen less than 2 years ago. And then we were consulted as to how the bus shelter should look. And only because the federal government, before funding this, decided that they wanted to have more consultations, force the city to have more consultations. I believe in better transit, I really do. But we need better transit in the peripheries of the city. We need it to industrial areas. We need it to the downtown. But this plan will have a devastating effect on downtown. It will, not just downtown, the other routes. It's not up to me sorry, I have not come up with an alternative plan because this is what we need from you, the people, the voters, the residents. We need to have a timely consultation and a rework of this plan to get a better transit system, to not have the effect that this one does have. I was going to address costs, but the costs, you're going to hear 24 cents of every dollar only comes from you. You're going to hear that money is coming from the feds and the province. That is your money. And I don't think it needs to be used for this. Thank you.
I've had a lot of people ask me about the transit, and I actually ride the transit 3 or 4 times a day, so I keep busy on it. One thing someone mentioned to me, they said something about wanting to build a subway, and I just laughed. Like, we're not Toronto. We don't have the population to be able to spend millions upon millions to dig up ground in downtown. But I suggested to them something called an LRT, which is a light rail transit that rides up in the air. You build posts, and the train runs along the track. And what I suggested was a north to south route, which would go from White Oaks Mall, stop at the Victoria Hospital, stop in the downtown core, stop at University Hospital, and stop at Masonville. Now, between the two hospitals, they move patients all the time through paratransit. They pay $150 for each of those trips. Now, what they could do is have one car on this train dedicated to bringing the patients back and forth between the hospitals and save all of that money and put it back into the transit system. I hope that puts something in your eyes anyway.
I'm an IT analyst. I do not know about transit. I went and I talked to experts, and then I took their advice and I applied critical, rational thought to that. And that is how I formed my opinion that I am pro-BRT. If I was to change one thing about our BRT plan, it would be in all of us. It would be the thought that we can finally go to the Grand Theater for a wonderful night of theater and leave our car behind, not worry about parking in downtown. As a resident of downtown, I would love the opportunity to look beyond for housing, to know that I have reliable transport to get me into my job. I believe behind what the experts have given us, because they are paid professionals that know what they're doing. Thank you.
Let me be very clear. I do not support BRT. It's too expensive. It's too disruptive to car traffic. It negatively impacts too many businesses and residences and is unable to adapt to future housing and business projects. Bus rapid transit can neither be rapid nor reliable as long as we have freight trains that cut the lifeblood through our city and stop us either way. I am a strong supporter of public transit. It's essential to getting many people to their jobs and schools and back home. I support projects that create more reliable transportation for all Londoners. The Adelaide Street Underpass to move vehicles and pedestrians past those rail yards, more efficient bus service to major industrial and retail areas across London so that workers can get to their jobs on time. Here's an idea: synchronized streetlights. So the traffic moves more quickly. And how about an app for smartphones to let commuters know when their next bus will actually arrive? I do recognize that transportation investment is required as we transform our now vacant lands into vibrant new neighborhoods filled with people, and I look forward to having that discussion with our new council. Thank you.
I didn't want to say anything tonight, really. The only thing I want to say tonight was change. But the BRT is going to affect our city for decades. It is the biggest scheme that is hatched on us by the smallest group of people that benefits the least amount of people, but it costs all of us a lot of money for many years. As leader of our city, I'm for the plans that we need today and tomorrow, short and medium term. We have enough long-term plans. Today's plan, easiest fix, is the bus base. You know, Oxford and Western, there's a bus stop right in front of the light, bus stop behind the light, bus stop around the light. You know that when the bus stops with someone getting off and the light's green, you stop. When the bus goes ahead, light turns red, you stop. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, bus and the cars goes all the way back to Colburn. You've been there. And the other side goes all the way back to Cherry Hill. Move the bus aside. Move the bus aside. Remember the old Paragon restaurant that was there? When the city knocked it down, why didn't they move the bus in 30 feet, 20 feet, 10 feet? At least we can get by. We have so many of them. Wonderland, Warncliffe, Oxford, Highbury. Move them off the road. That is the immediate plan we can fix. We don't need $1 billion plan. Those are the things as mayor, I just want those things done now. Thank you.
Pat's question was, what would I change? The question to the public is what I would change. 430 jobs for almost a decade and $270 million in wages for that decade. A transit plan that is paid for with the dollars that have already left your pocket and mine, and they're sitting in Ottawa and Toronto. A plan that brings those dollars here and puts Londoners to work. A plan that will get people across the city quicker. A plan that will make sure that we have equity of choice in transportation in this city. Or $300 million in road work for new asphalt, new sewers, and water mains on your tax bill, an increase to your taxes with the same transit system that we have today. That doesn't work for people out in Argyle and Oak Ridge that have a 40-minute headway between bus stops. This transit plan makes sure that we have 28 new buses on the busiest corridors so we can then redeploy the existing fleet into areas like Oak Ridge, like Argyle, like White Oaks to ensure that people have quicker access to transit. Waiting for 40 minutes for a bus, wondering if you're going to get written up because you will be late for work is not fair. Making sure that we have equitable access to transportation is fair, and let's use the money that we have already paid Ottawa and Toronto to build it. Thank you.
There's no doubt in my mind that the committees and the councillors that have worked really hard on this project of BRT, but we're living in the 21st century. We don't need an 80-year-old technology. We need people with vision, because vision is the nightlight that shines on knowledge, and the knowledge is nothing but books in darkness. That is my own saying, in case you're wondering who said it. As far as things that we can do, there's so many things that is wrong with the BRT. With all due respect, aside from the fact that the budget isn't enough, the map isn't done the right way, the timeline, it starts in 2021, and it'll take at least 10 years, 8 to 10 years, if not more. The budget, which government has ever committed to the budget that they predicted? So this $500 million is going to turn into $1.5 billion, $2.5 billion in no time. Your property taxes are going to skyrocket. London is going to go bankrupt that way. I suggest let's ask somebody to come and build us a SkyTrain, pay it by the builders, and we take the advantage of using it. We give them the incentives and not at zero cost to us, and we create employment. Thank you very much.
I like that idea.
I'm going to have to agree with the last gentleman here. I spent a lot of time in Amsterdam and all over Japan. I'm a train guy. That's all I got to say.
The mic's pretty low, high. I'm a short lady, but mighty. Anyways, BRT, I thought seriously about that when people question me out on the street and in email, and I believe that it's a good essential thing for London, Ontario, for students and future plans for elderly. People won't be able to afford a car soon, the way financial things are going in London, Ontario. But I do think that priority needs to take place in London, Ontario. I think that we need to think about some of the things that are not done yet, like poverty issues. There's many people on the streets that are crying out for help, that we need to think about housing and think about the upgrades that need to be done, like in Middlesex housing. There's many things that are not done yet. I think that we need to prioritize in London, Ontario, that has gone downhill. Our priority has lacked, and it's important that we think about that first. I didn't say that I'm not against it. I'm for it, but for future plans. I think that we need to prioritize.
Our next topic is property taxes, and for the mayor, it's certainly one of the most complicated issues you'll face, and maybe the most important. Property tax hikes over the past 4 years have averaged 2.8% annually. Is that too high? Is it too low? In other words, maybe you think the city needs more revenue for major projects, or do you consider that to be a reasonable level? And we will start with Dan Leonard.
Property tax, yes. 2/3 of the city's budget comes from property tax. And if anyone here said that they want to hike property tax, good luck in getting elected. So, if we want, however, a future bus rapid transit plan that is truly quick and efficient, then I believe we need more bridges over the river and more rail overpasses and underpasses to really make it logical and sensible, and that is going to cost money. And who's going to pay for that? Guess what? Property tax. So if we're going to do this right for the future, it's going to cost money, and who's going to pay for that? Unfortunately, we are. So if we are going to be serious about this bus rapid transit plan, an investment into the future, doing it right, properly, not a bunch of kindergarten kids with crayons on a piece of paper, more bridges, more underpasses and overpasses, it may require a boost in the property tax. But it's a good investment for the future. I know it's going to be tough in the long haul, but the future for generations, 10, 20, 50 years from now, people are going to see, look what those people in London, Ontario did. And gentleman before me who's been all over the world in trains will tell you other cities can do it. We can do it too. It might be a bit of a pinch, but it's worth it in the future.
Okay, there'll be an opportunity for everyone to ask a question, so we ask you to just allow the candidates to answer here and take their turns.
Thank you, Patrick. Where I start with this thing is that what you're paying right now, between 2014 and 2019, you're looking at a 15% cumulative increase. Council's moved some numbers around to shift the numbers from residential to commercial, but ultimately the amount of tax that we're paying is unbelievable and has been on a run rate that we've never seen before. The concern I have is that real incomes have not matched that tax rate. In fact, for the 91% bottom side of the income earning place, 0 is the number of real income growth that we've seen since 2005. And in many cases, many people have gone without any income increases and have even lost ground. So when you have a inverted tax increase and a declining growth rate in income and a low growth rate in terms of adding people to our community, we've got a big problem. And yet we continue to want to spend and do a lot of services and continue to hit all of you people. So before I ever ask for a dime from you, I am going to do a line-by-line budget review of our entire budget and make damn sure that every nickel is being spent wisely on the programs that you seek and want and that what matters to you. The second thing that's really important is we're going to have to expand our job growth strategy. We have to get much more aggressive about economic development. We need to be able to bring in more people and grow our business and grow our revenues. Otherwise, all of these dollars, all of these services are going to continue to fall back on you. I have written a plan. I always write plans, and I put it out there. It's called London Inc. around our job growth strategy. And as I've made very clear, I'm not going to hit you up for a dime more until we have a tax strategy that works and we have a growth strategy that mitigates the need to continue to reach into your pocket. Thank you.
I'll start with two things. One, I don't like the term taxpayer. You're not an economic unit. You're either a citizen or a resident of the city. Two, I was an accounts officer at the House of Commons in the United Kingdom for 2 years. I dealt with all the bills that Parliament did. So I know my finances really well. But let's be realistic. Taxes do rise, and everyone up here promises not to increase them. I would do my utmost to keep them balanced. And if they ever did rise, I would explain to you why that is absolutely necessary. Because I'm not interested in increasing your taxes. Make no mistake, I will not be taxing you out of your home. People already pay enough, and there is too much hardship to go around. I understand that with city budgets, you have to work with what you have, and that's what I endeavor to do. Thank you.
I pay $50,000 in municipal taxes to London every single year. Let that sink in for a moment. In 2 years, that'll go up to $70,000. Sorry. The amount that we pay in taxes is a lot of money. To ask whether an increase should be above or below 2.9 requires all of council. It requires all of council to answer for this. We live in a country where we have a weak mayor system. Not one of us up here can make a decision and promise you that we cannot or will not raise taxes. I will take a segue here just to say, please pay as much attention to your ward races as you're paying to the attention you're paying to us up here, because that's just as important. That person still has a 1 out of 15 vote. There's a baseline that's been set. There's a baseline that's been set in terms of how much we have in taxes. I'm not upset about paying the taxes I do. What I am upset about is how that money is spent. I'm going to give you a quick example and move on. At a recent Civic Works Committee meeting, the Victoria Bridge could have been done for $2.3 million less. Our ward councillor, who's up here today in Ward 13, decided to pay more for an aesthetically pleasing bridge. That $2.3 million could have gone to support 23 affordable housing units for 20 years.
Thanks, Mohammed.
I promise you, we'll wipe out all taxes. No, I don't think I can promise you that. One thing I have been talking about, well, the first time I ran for mayor in Sarnia was 1994, and I keep wanting to get the public involved in making the decisions. And I think it would be great, the one fellow here said, take out the the books and go over it line by line. Well, why don't we put the whole thing available on the internet and take all the kids that have university degrees in economics and let them look at it and figure out ways to save money. And every one of you that has ideas that you could figure out how to bring the taxes down, well, let's all get together and figure out how to do it. Then we can pay for lots of things.
I believe the tax increase that matches the rate of inflation is fair. And I believe that, as Pilato had pointed out, that wages have stagnated. So it's also fair to demand of our employers that we have a salary increase that matches that. I will continue to see that inflation matching growth because I believe that the municipal workers deserve to be able to buy just as much today as they will be able to buy a year from now. I also believe that we need to have a quick look and then an in-depth look at how many baby boomers are moving to London from Toronto and adjusting our senior services. And that may cause an increase of taxes, but it's an increase of service to those who are entering their final years. Thank you.
Well, let me start with a short piece from a letter I recently received from a London resident. His name is James. He wrote, I recently was forced to sell my family home that we'd lived in for over 30 years because on retirement I could no longer pay the tax increases. Well, that's a tough story, and I'm sure that was exceptionally tough for James and his family to go through. And you don't have to be a senior to be concerned with property taxes. It's clear that many Londoners are living on a tight budget. A couple of comments. London's property taxes are matching our rate of inflation. And actually, London's taxes are below the average rate for cities with populations of 100,000 or greater. And I don't share that comment to make us feel any better about taxes, but I do it to make the point that our taxes are not out of line with cities of similar size. But the real question for me is how do we keep tax increases low as we move forward? One route could be to trim the city budget by either cutting back on essential services. I don't think that's a good idea. Or working with city staff to become more efficient. Well, look, any one of us in front of you here would say we would always strive to be more efficient, and of course, as mayor, I would do so. But I think a more powerful solution is to generate more tax revenue through job growth, through local firms that are here in city, those job creators, and by attracting more companies to come to our great city. For several years, I was on the International Trade Committee in the House of Commons. We understood the importance of companies coming to various communities. As a former London business leader and job creator, I believe I'd make a positive impact on job growth that will put more Londoners to work and minimize tax increases for everyone. Thank you.
I'll get this out of the way here. As taxpayers, we don't mind paying our taxes. What we resent are the waste. Before we examine anything in the tax books, we need an honest pair of eyes to look at the taxes that's being generated. Remember the King's Mill deal, $30 million? And the current mayor said, I will look at the tax budget line by line. That was Brown's exact same words here on this stage. And what did we get? Obfuscation and confusion. What we need is not just the tax base, it's the hydro. What's your hydro delivery rate every month? Mine's about $90, whether we're at the house, in the house, or not. It's flat. And the money we get from hydro goes right into the city coffers. That is something we must address. $90 a month, that's about $1,000 a year. So whether you get your tax increase for about $1, 1%, 0.5%, it makes no difference. When your hydro rate goes up $10 a month, that's $120 a year. That comes out of my pocket, your pocket, whether you're living in the house or not. It's regardless. Everybody in the apartments and the houses, everybody pays. Also, the BRT was supposed to be $500,000 or $500 million, and the accounting in the department is, I would like to say it is vacant. There is no calculation. So we need an honest pair of eyes in the city looking into the books first before we go to it line by line. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. The TV people say they want the podium here. Who am I to argue?
I am sensitive to the effect of taxes on Londoners, and I believe we must keep them as low as possible while providing great value. Over the last 4 years, despite what you have heard, we've only had an average of 1.8% increase to taxes. And this year, we actually brought it down to 1.3%. And every year, we have held broad public consultations on the tax rates. In fact, we have been lauded by organizations such as the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for that work. We have to understand as a community that we have over $10 billion in core infrastructure, and we are currently have a funding gap of $52 million. This is a funding deficit we have to make up in order to keep taxes where we need them and the assets that we have in good working order. It is a balancing act between keeping taxes low and providing more than the 100 services that your municipality provides to you each and every day. The good news for you is that we're on the right path. This council has paid off 10% of our city's debt, and while we have the second lowest tax rate among neighboring communities, we've decreased the tax ratio between houses and apartments, making sure renters in the numbers of 10,000 people had rent reductions because of that work. We also brought water and wastewater levies down to 3% after years and years of increases. Let's keep this going for the next 4 years. Let's build on the great work that we have started, and it's good for Londoners, and it's been great for London's prosperity. Thank you.
Basically, for taxes, there's not just one or two factors. There are so many different factors. There is recession, there is value of dollar, there is how much job is available, how many unemployment is available, what are the businesses that are closing down if there's more businesses opening up. These are the things that we need to work at. As I mentioned, there are ideas that we can use to bring money, bring abundance, bring equal opportunity for everyone. That includes, for example, the SkyTrain that I mentioned earlier that obviously will be spent by the builder. There are other ideas such as, for example, easing up on the permits and zoning and licensing and so on, so that the businesses can flourish and instead of being in a survival mode, become in a thrival mode. So, sure, thank you. So that we can become from survival mode into thrival mode. I mean, nobody in the past 20 years has been able to stop the price of a banana from 21 cents a pound to what it is today. So nobody can actually guarantee a stop of tax. However, when you can increase the amount of jobs, money, abundance, opportunities in town, that should help. So if you have a lot of money, if you got $1,000 in your pocket, shouldn't matter if the pizza is $10 or $20. So my suggestion is, vote for somebody who can make these ideas work and really put some actions to these ideas and not leave them on a piece of paper so that we can all succeed and prosper. Thank you very much.
Yeah, taxes are way too high. Income tax in the city, I'm currently paying $350 every month for the house that I live in. I know somebody in Vancouver, mainland, who has a $10 million house, and they pay $180 a month. So I don't see what's going on there, because believe me, my house is not worth $10 million. But you know what, guys? I haven't heard anybody say it, and I'm a little disappointed. We have a brand new industry. The cannabis green rush is here, people, and by being a friendly, cannabis-friendly mayor, we can have dispensaries, coffee shop-style dispensaries from Amsterdam, which is going to generate new taxes, which will offset the double-digit 10% reduction I'm saying I want to do in property taxes across the board. Now, let's hope that we can bring enough people into the city and things like that through tourism, through this new industry I just spoke of, and we can help offset that. But I'm talking double-digit cut on property taxes right off the gate.
I'll smoke to that.
I'm very concerned about taxes and our general financial plan in London. I think that our good earned, workmen payments into taxes need to stop being eaten and pocketed. I think they need to be invested in our city. I think we need to start a new plan, and we need some priority with that as well. I'm concerned about the fact that when the taxes rise and the economy rises, that incomes are staying the same. ODSP, welfare, workmen, all those things. And I think that London would be better off if we start planning a financial plan, which we have had many meetings in London about, that is over the poverty line. I think that it's important that we establish stability in London, and that our priority stays on the citizens and their lives and their health, whether it be poor, rich, or middle class. And I wonder sometimes if we really have a middle class. I think that it's rich and poor. And I think that it's important that we start listening to the citizens, their concerns about taxes and about financial stability in our city, and take that into consideration, because they're the ones living through these difficult times. I believe that stability and priority is our main concern in London, Ontario. It's time that we work together as a community and help one another stay stable in London. Over the poverty line is the best way.
Our population has not grown in 10 years. Eh? What? 10 years? What? Murmur? The more people paying taxes, the more we share the load. If we get going on some rail, there's a housing crisis in Toronto. Come on, Toronto, live here. Please, someone come. Just bear with me. Then it's a 45-minute commute. It's less that we pay in taxes. My landlord, 3 weeks ago, this is weird. My landlord skipped town. No, you heard that right. I live right downtown, Dundas and Richmond, above Starbucks. Come by and visit sometime. Oh, you can't. Anyways, his property taxes went through the roof. He had to sell like a midnight sale. I will give you 0 guesses who bought the building. Right? Okay? We don't say the name. It's like the candy man. You're gonna pay taxes. You're gonna pay for infrastructure. I look out my window, I see the cranes and bulldozers and backhoes. They're digging up wooden pipes, clay pipes. This town is older than Canada itself. They were so deep, I looked out one time, 10 feet deep, they found another road from like old London. So they had to go through that one. I'm like, under that, that's where the poltergeists are. Don't. I'm not allowed to say. We got to share the weight. That's all I'm saying. There's going to be taxes. One thing I'll never, ever, ever do, not a lot of promises here tonight. I will never vote to give myself a raise if I'm elected. Never. Thank you.
Our final major issue is a uniquely 2018 topic for the mayoral race. It may not be on the front burner in 4 years, and it certainly wasn't 4 years ago. London is an Ontario leader when it comes to supervised drug injection sites. As a citizen, do you view these as helpful to the community or harmful? And we'll start with Paul Pilato.
Thanks, Patrick. This is an issue that really touches me because I experienced it and saw it firsthand through my work on the police board. And I have to tell you, I get this actually a lot more at the door than I expected. And the reason is because we're dealing with a very divisive challenge in our community. We're talking about people who are struggling to live the day, to survive the day, and deal with a situation where they actually fear for their lives. And so they are highly dependent on creating a safe and needing a safe environment for safe injection. The difficulty I have is creating fixed sites. And the reason I have a problem is when we create a fixed site, and I'm tired of people telling me otherwise, you sentence that neighborhood, the residents and the businesses, to a situation that is untenable, and it will actually crater that neighborhood. So I'm a big believer in, again, being something or proposing something that I'm for. And it really revolves around using mobile injection sites to get to the 5,000 addicts that we have throughout the city and getting them the help they need. And then coupling that with a complete care facility, clinical care, detoxification, peer counseling. Thank you. I'm not interested in servicing the problem. I'm interested in helping try to resolve it. This is a painful process, and we have to address it because it is, thank you, it is suffocating our community. And I feel for these people, I really do, and I want to be able to help them. And I think we can find and generate the resources to be able to realize both of these needs. Mobile injections so that we do not compromise our neighborhoods, our residents, our businesses, our schools, and couple that with complete care, especially for women and youth. Right now, we have zero detoxification and rehab capacity in our community, and that is unacceptable, and that's something I'm going to change. Thank you.
You should know that when my approach to politics, I take the time and I spend it at City Council. And I try to learn as much as possible about various issues. I don't claim to be an expert, and I'm not a medical expert. But I was at the session where they were debating about the zoning for the safe consumption sites. Now, a lot of people came into it and they were under the impression that they were voting for or against it. So there was a lot of people, a lot of passion, and a lot of comments for both sides. After hearing those sides, I realized that it is very beneficial to the community, and especially because London has a drug problem. Things have progressed back to they were in the mid-1990s, where we had issues then, and then it petered out, and now it's come back again. So I do support safe injection sites. I think the data is there to say that it is a useful thing. I don't necessarily condone drug use, but that's irrelevant. That's my choice, that's not somebody else's. They will use drugs whether you want them to or not, but the difference is whether you want them to do it in a park or that you want them to do it in a safe space that we can control the situation, where we can give them the help they need, because these safe injection sites do provide that help, and it's a comprehensive approach. They recently just had one individual who actually decided to stop and move on with her life. And that's a success story, because that's what these sites are there for. So make no mistake, it is better to have them than not have them, and actually have some measure of control where we can actually help people in need. Thank you.
I agree with supervised consumption sites, supervised consumption facilities. Still can't hear? Sorry. I'll turn the mic up. I agree with the need for supervised consumption sites. I understand addiction. I have never done a recreational drug in my entire life, but 25 years ago in the summer of '93, I worked for 2 months at the neonatal intensive care unit at St. Joe's Hospital, dealing with crack-addicted babies. I understand the physiological addictions as to what it entails. These people, it's a crisis. I see it downtown. I've got property downtown. I deal with it daily. I deal with needles in my backyard. I deal with people sleeping in culverts that have not been constructed yet. Big old pipe. These people need a place to be. Supervised consumption facilities offer that. My difficulty with only having a mobile site is I don't think the legislation allows that. You must have a permanent site, and the permanent sites are useless without wraparound facilities, wraparound services to allow for treatment, not just use, to occur. We need to lobby our provincial government to put more money into healthcare. That is not within the city's purview. We need to lobby them. The issues are intermeshed. The last thing I do need to say is that the difficulty comes with where to put them. We cannot take and demarginalize people who are marginalized while pushing others away by putting it into their residences. We have to think very, very, very carefully about where these things go.
Is this a Narcotics Anonymous meeting? My name is Carlos Murray, and I am a recovered drug addict. I have been clean for 4 years. At that time, I got what's called a cyst and an abscess in my wrist. It got uninfected, but it didn't all go away. A bit of it got lodged into my leg, which had to turn into flesh-eating disease, and they put a hole in my leg. That didn't get rid of it all. It went into my hip, and on the inside was an abscess on the inside of the joint. And they had to take my hip off and scrape it out and give me an artificial hip. Well, they took that away because I was still more infected. If I had had a safe injection site where someone could have injected me like this, maybe I wouldn't be in a wheelchair today. Thank you.
I'm a reasonable and compassionate individual. I believe that the best way to help those that have addictions is to reduce the amount of harm that they can do. I believe in safe injection sites, and I believe that it is the most compassionate way forward for those dealing with addiction, such that they can then recover and get back with their life. Thank you.
I support safe injection sites, particularly when used as a component of a much bigger program. I'd like to share some thoughts on that. When we talk safe injection sites or consumption sites, what we're really talking about is London's drug epidemic. And I use the word epidemic because that's exactly what it is. Did you know that last year London had the third highest rate of opioid overdoses in Canada? We're a mid-sized city with a big city drug problem. This is a serious issue, and it's a medical issue. And like all medical issues, we have to start by listening to medical experts. Health Canada supports safe injection sites. London's Chief Medical Officer of Health supports safe injection sites. And why? They support because safe injection sites save lives. They reduce the spread of hepatitis C and HIV, and they reduce healthcare costs. But safe injection sites do not deal with the real issue, which is drug addiction. London's Chief Medical Officer of Health has stated clearly that the opioid drug epidemic is complex, it will take time, and says that it requires support from all levels of government to get a handle on it. So I support safe injection sites because our medical experts say it makes medical sense, and it does, and it makes financial sense, and it does. But it's also the right and humane thing to do. I support safe injection sites because they make an important impact on the human tragedy that is our drug epidemic. And I strongly support London working closely with our provincial and federal counterparts to reduce the opioid drug problem in our city. And I hope you believe that my experience dealing with other levels of government at the provincial and federal level as a member of parliament and cabinet minister gives me some experience to contribute in this area, and I will make that commitment. Thank you.
4 years ago, I said on this stage and on my platform, can I start again? 4 years ago, on this stage and on my platform, I said, I want our high schools to be drugs-free. And promptly, some social media, or I think it's a newspaper, that said, Paul Chang doesn't know what he's talking about. It's a provincial issue. Well, folks, that drug issue is coming back to hit us now, and hitting us hard. Safe injection site is a necessity. It is here now, so I accept it. I've spoken and I met with Chris Mackey. He accepts it. He thinks that's the best treatment. Fine. But I do not accept the fact that it is a continuous treatment. It has to be stopped. My thought is, if you're on drugs, every one of us in this room, on this stage, will give the shirt off our back to help a fellow man recover. But that cannot be continuous. Safe injection site is prolonging the death of the person. It's a slow death. We have no drug recovery facility in London. Mr. Paulato and I was at the drug injection site a few weeks back together. But Guelph has the only recovery site in southwestern Ontario. Why? So if you're safe injecting, I understand. But I want you to be off the drugs sometime with a timeline. I cannot accept the fact it's a continuous give treatment. Thank you.
Firstly, I'm very proud to share the stage with these individuals who also support supervised consumption sites in London. That is a big step forward for London. I believe people are not disposable and are not a nuisance to be moved or hidden out of sight because they are suffering with the disease of addiction. I believe as a community we have a moral responsibility to never ignore that suffering. This is why I fully support having a supervised consumption site in London and why I've stood with council colleagues to enact the first one here in our community. HIV is on the rise in London, where that number is shrinking everywhere else in Canada. The cost to serve one person with HIV costs the healthcare system $1.3 million. If we prevent one person from contacting HIV, we can afford to operate a supervised consumption site for 1 full year. Hospitals are the single most expensive way to treat those with addictions, and our hospitals are already overcrowded and overburdened with hallway medicine. We know we cannot enforce our way out of our addiction problem here in our community. In fact, our chief of police actually said the same. We've tried this for too long, too many years, and failed every single time. We need a new approach that is based on science, best practices, and compassion. These are people in our community who are suffering and dying because of the hell they're going through with addictions. We cannot stand by and let people die when there is a proven and effective way in our community of changing lives for the better. Caring is what London is all about. Caring is what my campaign is about. Because my vision for London, everyone matters. Thank you.
In the interest of saving everyone time and not repeating what we've already heard, I'd like to say that after all the people that are needing this service are our own children, our own family members, citizens of this city. In one way or another, they're all victims of this society, one way or another. Now, whether it's because of crime or because of poverty, lack of knowledge, lack of education, I'm not the judge, nor should you be. my suggestion is we should invest in all services that can help the community, whether it's people that are addicted, whether it's by helping them, helping others that are healthy, that they don't get involved with drugs. I strongly agree that we should definitely support this program, but I definitely do not agree that this should be something that's going to take advantage of the system and it's going to be like a hole in our pocket that's going to be a continuous expense. I believe this should be accompanied with some sort of psychological help, social, like some sort of assistance, psychological assistance, programs, videos, lessons, classes, to improve their state of mind so that they can decide on their own, have the courage to quit once and for all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me. I've seen a lot of what's going on in Vancouver and things like that. So I support them temporarily, very temporary. I think people need to be held responsible for their actions, the consequences of their actions. They're the one taking these drugs and they need to get off them. So I really like what Pilato said. We have to have a rehab center and we have to do a mobile unit or just have one downtown. We can't be sticking this in neighborhoods and bringing people's property value down. That's a real thing. That's what pays the bills in the city. And I really think that we need to shame these people. Their family and their friends are enabling them. Hey, man, I don't know what to say, right? Yeah, well, you know what? You know what? People have to be responsible for their actions, and I'm not going to stand by and watch somebody. I've heard you say that. I'm not going to stand by and watch somebody inject drugs into their vein every day of their life and enabling. I'm going to tell them I'm not into it and I don't support their behavior.
Nina?
Poverty's my passion, and I have been working for 5 years with City Council on poverty issues and addiction, and I have a desire for a better treatment plan in London, Ontario. I think that the injection thing is a good idea, impartial. I think that it's a bandana method. I think that if we're going to say that addiction and putting needles in our arms is a crime, then we need to put in place a concrete treatment plan. It's contradictory when we tell a person in poverty that it's wrong to do drugs and then provide a place for them to do it. I think that we need a concrete plan in London, a treatment plan that is an answer to that. Enforcement is important. We need to enforce it. If you were a family with an addicted child that could not make their own decision, you would want some kind of enforcement done in order to save that child's life. We need more enforcement. We need a better treatment plan in London that is in one place of London, Ontario. I believe that if we all work together as a community, we can make this possible. I think that in one place of London, because the attraction and the BRT, all these things are going to be disrupted because there's people laying all over the place because we are injecting needles. We need to start working on a concrete plan in London, in one place of London, where everything is in one place.
So I told you where I live. Now I got to tell you where I used to live. I moved from 186 King Street. For those that don't know, that's where the temporary site resides. There are hundreds of international students that live in that building, and there are 2 restaurants in the main lobby. Everyone's worried about where we're going to put these sites. It's doing pretty good right there now, given those circumstances. Those are not ideal circumstances, but we need at least one site, probably two. You fear not three. So I'm a downtown guy. I work downtown, I live downtown, I do a lot downtown. I talk to some of the businesses. Gonna rattle them off here. Mr. Sub, Tim Hortons, McDonald's, Pizza, Subway, Starbucks, the Dollar Store. All of them have shortened their hours, and all of them have restricted their washrooms. You can't go downtown with your kids and, oh, little Timmy's got to go. We'll just duck in here. Okay, the manager's got to accompany you, get a code. You used to be able to just go. You know what I mean? You got to go, you got to go. So they're losing business. We got to do something, man. This is real. Not only do we have to help these people, we got to clean up the dirty needles I'm finding everywhere on my walk to work.
Here, here.
In the parks, in the alleyways, and the beaches, in the streets, in the market lane, inside the market, outside the market. These are the places that we want people to come and enjoy and generate an income for our city. We got to clean them up. We need an incentive program for them to come in and exchange. Maybe we give them an apple and a sandwich. Maybe we give them some socks. Maybe we give them some deodorant. Maybe we give them time with a counselor. Maybe we give them something to bring them inside. At the end of every needle, there's a human. That's all I want to say.
Okay, here we go. Harm reduction, as the gentleman has said, 186 King Street, that's ground zero. There's a sandwich shop right in behind there. I go there just about every day. And the counterpoint service is not in the front of 186 King Street. It's around back in the alley. That's how much shame surrounds this issue. It's a back alley issue. No one wants to be seen with these human beings coming in the front door. It's a back alley issue. The Doug Ford government has given to the end of September for these temporary overdose prevention sites, TOPS, and for any kind of funding or approval. That's 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Chris Mackey has said that the program will go mobile and illegal if necessary. Think of that. A public health crisis, a medical crisis, and our own public health doctor, Dr. Chris Mackey, is considering going illegal, mobile, to help human beings here in London, Ontario. How can that be? HIV, AIDS, Hep C is sweeping across the country right now. Body bags are being filled. And what is the community doing? Not in my backyard. Well, whose backyard? You know, property values. Oh, property values, okay. These folks need help. They need supervision to get clean as they struggle with these chemicals, as unsightly as it is. Right now, they don't trust very many people. They don't trust authorities and officials. Real estate folks say location, location, location. So put it somewhere that's not right in your face, fine. But we need to do something about these body bags being filled. They are human beings. We can do better. London is known as a medical center. We can show the rest of the country how to do it.
So clearly many of our candidates have come really, really well prepared for tonight's debate, and there's also a really great energy up here that kind of reminds me of Ivan Kasurek, who died earlier this year after running for mayor, I think 9 or 10 times, I think, without a win, but he kept trying, so good for him. Let's keep that spirit going. We're going to move now to questions from the audience. A few quick things. There's a big crowd here, so we're not going to be able to get to everyone, but we're going to get to as many as we can. To make that happen, please keep your questions very short, very tight, very concise. We don't have time for statements. We don't have time for long, drawn-out questions. Out of respect for the person who's waiting after you and the person after them, please keep it quick. Of course, it's your right to challenge a candidate or take a run at them if you like. We ask you not to do it here, though. We've had, like I said, a pretty great night so far. Let's keep it that way and respectful. And of course, challenging them is perfectly reasonable, but I think you know where the limit is. And also, feel free to address your questions to a specific candidate or candidates. Now to our candidates, you can stay right where you are during this and use the wireless microphones. And the answers are going to be kept to 30 seconds or a minute, depending on what the question is. So, Andrew, who's the guy running the thing? You got the first question, I think, already, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take the first one to lighten it up a little bit. So we're standing in a beautiful hall that I have the privilege of working in. If you were elected as the mayor, I would like to know in 1 or 2 sentences how you're going to prioritize arts and culture in our city, because we all know a vibrant city means vibrant arts, culture, and community vitality. So that question is for everyone, but let's keep it short.
Yeah, we'll keep you to 30 seconds here, guys.
Okay. I have been a photography I do in my spare time. I've been an artist on and off all my life. I very much want to support our artistic community because I believe that's one of London's good strengths that we have here. I recently was in the Visual Fringe gallery for this year. It was the first time I ever did it, and I got to meet a lot of great artists while I was doing it. And I very much am keen in making programs and or trying to drum up more tourism for the arts.
I too am a strong supporter of the arts. This place used to be a radio repair shop at one point when I was a kid, and through funding from the city, if I'm not mistaken, this has become what it is today. That's basically it.
Well, having played guitar for 54 years, I like to think I've learned a couple of things, and I'm into the arts. I'd like to see a little bit more go on for the local musicians. Like, they bring in a whole bunch of out-of-town musicians for all these festivals, when there's a lot of local, there's great musical entertainment here if we were to promote them.
Throw it up, yes. I support the arts. I enjoy going to the theater myself. I think that the best way to support it is by showing up, and I intend to continue doing that as mayor.
And let's all show up to a number of these events. I think that's correct. I was a member of the Grand Theatres Foundation Board because I thought it was important to put sweat equity into such an important gem in our city. I was lead fundraiser for the Battle of the Atlantic Memorial at HMCS Prevost. So when we talk about arts and culture, we also talk about our history in this great city. You know, I think of one of the important things that we look to do. I share the Convention Center Board, and I share that with you because when it was being built, it was a challenge. It was called a pink elephant, and people did not support it. I think it's one of the anchors of downtown, one of them. But I think when we bring people to our city, we have to have the amenities for people to enjoy. And when I think of what Cleveland has done, I think of what Detroit is currently doing, I look at Toronto and what it has.
Ed, thank you.
We have a great opportunity to invest more in those arts.
I love the arts. My wife and I, we try to acquire what we can afford. One interesting thing is in Iceland, I saw an artist who makes small miniature statues. I thought they looked so cool. I said, can you make me one, but I want it much bigger, about 12 inches high. So we agreed, and he made me 3 statues, but they were really cool. He sent it to me, and I sent him the money just on trust, but I never heard back from him. Second, anybody know about the bronze drinking horse in England? That's what I want for London.
One thing about London that is a spectacularly special is our local artists add about $500 million to our GDP through their work that they do here locally. That is a significant contribution to our economic prosperity. The City of London has a CAPE program, the Community Arts Improvement Program, and through that program we invest in the arts, and that program has not seen an increase since 2010. As mayor, I would increase the funding to that organization so they can expand on the good work of the local artists here in London.
I've been an art lover all my life and an art collector for over 3 decades. I think we need to definitely, as she mentioned, Tanya mentioned, invest definitely in art and also encourage tourism. The same way that Stratford had a lot of tourism for their art, we need to raise awareness of everything that's going on in London so more people can enjoy it, because art and culture go hand in hand. Thank you very much.
I'm a big supporter of the arts and culture, things like that, music, paintings, artists, local musical talents. My feeling is you got to get them early, so I would just better fund grade schools and better fund their art programs. Thank you.
I think art and entertainment, music, all that is very important to maintain our city. I think I would invest in that as well as mayor. I think that London, Ontario rocks, and we need to be able to bring that out to other cities throughout Canada. When they come here, they want to see that. They want to see the attraction. They want to see the excitement. And I also think, too, that people in poverty have a lot of talent, and I think we should use that as well. I think it's very important to use people like that that have artistic value.
You may have guessed I'm a stand-up comic. I produce shows, I put on shows, I hire people, I put them to work. I celebrate the arts whenever I can. A gentleman by the name of, I hate to name drop, well, maybe I won't name drop, but this guy just won the Governor General's Award for the arts, and he's on my campaign, and I couldn't be thrilled anymore. More festivals, longer Fringe Fest, more Busker Fest, festivals. I'm bringing back Balloon Fest. All right.
This is a great hall. I'd like to thank the organizers. There's great music that happens in this hall. I like coming here for the primetime big band. I was in a band with some of those people. I'm in London's oldest orchestra, Promenade. I'm a flute player. And I think that London Arts Council needs more than $250,000 a year to do the various, thank you, yeah. To do the various community programs that it does. It's a grassroots organization, and there's nothing like grassroots organizations to help this city move forward.
In 30 seconds, 3 things. Number 1, I support the new tourism tax. I've been paying it in cities all over the world. But the key is this tax cannot go into general revenues. It needs to be directed to the arts, entertainment, and cultural community. The second thing is I want to bring the private sector on board and see what we can do to improve our venues. These are beautiful venues, and there's opportunities for us to work with the private sector to really start to build our cultural assets in the community. And the last thing is we need to make our streets safe. People need to be able to feel empowered to come downtown and enjoy music and celebrate our city. Thank you.
Okay, so Andrew, you've got our next citizen with a tight, concise question.
Yes. The question is, Boswick Community Center, $60 million with a library. Sunningdale, $60 million with a library. You heard about drugs. You heard about affordable housing. You heard about lining up for paratransit. I want to know from each one of you, we should all know, what's the difference between need to have versus nice to have?
Difference between need to have and nice to have. And I know it's tough. We're just trying to keep it as tight as we can to get as many questions as possible. So we'll keep you to 30 seconds, and we start with Mohammed.
That's a really tough question. It's not up to council to decide that. It's up to the people of London to decide that. I am a strong proponent of people being engaged, continuing to be engaged, and making their opinions known. That's really where it comes down to. And I ask every one of you here not just to pay attention until October 22nd, but to continue to be engaged with your council, with your mayor, with your council members.
Yes, as I have been saying for the last 24 years, running in for mayor in Sarnia and now here twice, I want to put the decision-making process into the hands of the people. And this would be a good example. Let the people bring up their ideas and say, do we need this or not? And when we say we don't need it, we stop talking about it. But if the people say we need it, then we talk about it.
I believe that the city only provides need-to-have services. When we get into an election cycle, that is the discussion that's being had now. BRT, is it a nice-to-have or is it a need-to-have? Thank you.
Well, I think it's about balance. If we understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs that talks about basic needs of food, shelter, to take care of our most basic requirements, those are absolutely critical. Those are need to have. When you want to have, I think that we're always told as kids is that we're measured as a caring community by taking care of those who can't take care of themselves. The other component of want to have, it seems to me, is that you strike that balance with what requirements we have for example, when we bring in tourism, and for what our own population wants to have. And it's striking that balance, and I think that a collaborative approach in council gets you to that place.
Need to have for London are jobs and employment, period. Council is running on its own agenda, in their own ideas, nice to haves. That's what we got for the last 4 years. The person you put in the mayor's chair, you got to remember, who does this person represent on day 2? The special interest groups, the nice to haves, or you, the need to have jobs and employment? That's it. Thank you.
When it comes to assets like libraries, clean water, roofs over our heads, they're all need to haves. Those are things that add value to people's lives and to our community as a whole. I think it's incredibly important that we as a community realize that when we all prosper, it is a good economic indicator for everyone. And when it comes to libraries in particular, they're for everyone. As a library board member, I can tell you the motto, library space is community space.
Yes, obviously, the difference between need to have and nice to have comes down to question of priorities. So what we need is somebody with a high degree of integrity, sincerity, and honesty who can definitely figure out which one is important and which one isn't, and bring it to the attention of the councillors and the people that are in charge of making those types of decisions, that this is a common shared interest and is for the better of everyone. And people always come first. Thank you.
Yes, one thing we need is a strong leader that can make council get along. A complaint I've heard from a lot of people is that council is always bickering, not getting a lot done, spending the time bickering. I see this in Ottawa too, everybody's screaming at each other, nothing's really getting done. So that's something we need to have as a strong leader that can get some cohesion in council and get things done. We also need to have a businessman and a salesman that can sell London and get a lot of investment.
Answer, but I'm not sure if I heard the question right, sir. The difference between what?
Nina, it was the difference between a need to have and a nice to have, how you define the difference.
Pardon me?
What's the difference for the government between a need to have and a nice to have?
What we need to have and what we don't need?
No. What you'd like to have and what you absolutely need to have.
Oh.
It's a tricky one, Nina. Don't feel duty-bound to answer it if you're...
Pardon me?
You don't have to feel bound to answer it, and your time's almost up.
Well, I'd like to answer it, but I really think that mainly, you know, the financial stuff that we're working with in London, Ontario, whether it be, you know, in poverty or treatment or injections or whatever it may be. I don't think there's a definite difference or anything else. I just think that we need to prioritize and get things done properly. I
you,
think
Nina.
that we need to take more
Thanks, Nina.
initiative and start letting the citizens in on some
All
of
right,
this
Nina,
too.
thank you.
Need to have and nice to have. It's nice to have what's going on right now behind us, the Western Fair, things like Balloon Fest that I'm bringing back, the air show. We need to have compassion. It's one thing to celebrate life, but we got to look after the life before we can celebrate it. That's all I want to say.
So some of the people up here have a certain way of looking at things. They want jobs, and that sounds good. But if you look at all the departments in the City of London, way down, way down, way down, near the bottom is the London Economic Development Corporation. And why is something so important as that down at the bottom of the list? You think that getting jobs, bringing companies to London is important. Why isn't it up higher on the list? If that's a need, then why isn't it higher up on the list?
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for your question, sir, and it's a good one. My big belief is that we really need to do the basics well. The basic civil services around snow removal, sidewalk repair, road construction, syncing up the lights. A lot of the things that I think help the broad mandate and of the civic, of the municipality. Where you get into nice to have is obviously about competing interests, but none of that can be attained unless we have affordability and some fiscal discipline around our budget. So we start with the basics, do them well, and then we can start to talk about more advanced opportunities and looking to leverage funds from outside if possible.
Thanks, Paul.
Those to me are tipping points, and those are our opportunities. Thanks again.
When it comes to city infrastructure and or community things, there's no such thing as nice to have. It's a necessity. What tends to happen with these projects is they go in cycles, right? Where we haven't invested in, say, 20, 30 years. I know there's a lot of libraries where that was the case. And so it reaches kind of a breaking point or a tipping point where we have to actually do that investment. So I don't really want to sit here and pick and choose on terms of priority, because that's the same logic with like, oh, math over art. Actually, art is more important than math.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, Andrew, I believe, has our next question on diversity. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jeek Abdi. I'm the president of the African Community Council. I'm very disappointed, all of you, not mentioning about diversity of this city and not talking about equity and inclusiveness of this city. If you get elected, we don't have equity and inclusiveness of this city about employment issue. You can look at Harold Asher has been talked about so many years, but nobody pay attention to him. If you get elected, how are you going to hire equity, inclusiveness, minority of this city of London?
Okay,
Thank you.
So I think Deke's question is, what would you do as mayor to address issues involving diversity in City Hall's workforce? What would you do to improve it? And we'll start with Carlos.
You're talking about community at City Hall, or I'm thinking of the whole city. I keep hearing people talk about jobs creation, and they're bringing these high-tech companies, and there'll be a thing put on at Fanshawe College where you can learn, and you and 30 other people are going to try out for the one job. What about the 25% of the people that don't even have a high school education and would like to be able to be employed? I think we need to work on that. Some assembly line jobs, and
Thanks, Carlos.
There we go.
Go ahead, David.
I will be completely honest in that I do not believe I can provide a meaningful answer in 30 seconds. Please contact me and let's have a conversation after this. Because if our HR policies in City Hall are not addressing the need, we need to modify those policies to actually get through the problem that we have.
Well, thank you for the question. when we look at the makeup of London now, and you look at the tremendous diverse population that we have, I look at our Chinese, our Muslim, our Spanish, our Portuguese, our Greek, all the various communities, and the vibrancy they bring to our community. I do not believe we have an issue in terms of City Hall, in terms of its race relations issues. What I do believe, though, is that what we need to do is continue to work and provide outreach to these communities so that they see City Hall as one of the bastions where they can participate fully.
Thanks, Ed.
Our City Hall doesn't just have a hiring proportion issue. We have contract honesty and transparency issue. There's much more than that, but I cannot look into it until I get into office as an honest pair of eyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Over the course of my term, I have done work with various communities, and we've talked and had really honest conversations about what those communities face. Over the term of council, we've also done work about better practices for hiring and making sure that we have everyone represented within the workforce at City Hall. During this election campaign, I've been working with diverse women trying to seek office because I think not only do we need better representation on the payroll at City Hall, but around the council horseshoe also.
I've been wondering about this issue myself my entire life. And in fact, I am the president and the director of a group called Circle of United Friends. Circle of United Friends is a diverse group which is bringing unity and diversity. We have people of all backgrounds, both Canadian and non-Canadian. We're about to raise awareness to the fact that we're all equal in our rights, in our freedoms, and that we have to use more common sense with regards to everything that we decide on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what can be done. I'm not really into imposing racial quotas for every administration or something like this. I am into motivating people. Canada's a free country. Anybody can run for mayor. Anybody can apply for any job. But I feel one of the things that will increase diversity is just to have, like, anti-racism training and things like that, and just, again, motivate, I guess you would say, minorities to just get out there and take charge of their life. If they don't like something in the city, you go out there and change it. Okay?
Nina? Nina?
That's a hard one, I have to say. I'm a woman that faced some of the discrimination when you get down to the point, But I think that job placements and that kind of thing is very important. Discrimination needs to be put aside. And whether you're, Aboriginal, any different color, red, yellow, black, or white, we're all precious, right? We're all people, and we have a right to work. We have a right to
Thank you, Nina.
to live and breathe and have our being. I think that it's time
Thanks, Nina.
that we work together and just stop that.
This is a pretty diverse town. I've worked in a couple of shows that I mentioned earlier that celebrated the community, so I got to know a lot of people that I would not have normally gotten to meet if it weren't for that show. And I'm super grateful. I'm Irish and English. I love everyone else because the food is so much better. I'm trying to be I'm serious. I want to work with the best from every region. My London includes refugees. My London includes people of color, natives, LGBTQ. I include everyone.
Thanks, Jordan.
The question was a very important question. Thank you for raising it. Do we have a diversity challenge here in London? Let's be honest. One candidate, even last night, had all her signs taken away. Now, that's a problem, folks. We have to be honest with this. Does London have race relations problems? Let's be honest. What can the City of London do about it? Now, that's the thing. Can we hire a more reasonable sample to inspire people? What can we do about police carding? You know, is there discrimination and prejudice at the police department? That's something to work on.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul. It's all yours.
Thanks. Thank you for your question, sir. What I would like to refer you to in 30 seconds, it's never going to do enough to justify your heartfelt concern. What I can tell you is if you look at my track record in business, and it's very simple, all you have to do is look at the plethora of annual reports from World Discoveries and my time at the university, you will see an extraordinarily diverse and celebrated workforce, largely because they have great skills and they make great contributions to my team, and they add great competitive advantage to our service model. So I can't tell you exactly what I'm going to do. What I can tell you is I'm going to continue to deliver on that practice because I believe in it.
For me, I really don't look at things like that. When I worked at the House of Commons, it was 51% men, 49% women. And we're talking about people from every nationality. There was no difference. And I really am for merit-based processing, especially when it comes to hiring practices, because you have to keep it open for everyone. And I don't want, and in terms of like diversity and inclusiveness, I am all for that. But people need to have an example. And when they feel that an organization is open, that they can actually submit an application, it's that much better.
I hope I understood the question properly. You're referring to City Hall, inclusion at City Hall, or overall? City staff. Okay. Okay.
So.
Okay. My time's almost expired. I don't believe in quotas, but I do believe in inclusion. I think the most qualified candidates should be hired. My name is Mohammed Musa. I am a minority by definition, but at the same time, I think if we can identify that there is a problem, then we should address it, and we should address it quickly and thoroughly.
Okay. Thanks, Mohammed. Our next question, I think, is on climate change.
Thanks for taking the time to dedicate yourself to such a wonderful process here, everybody. I applaud all of your efforts. I grew up with little thoughts and quotas coming to me, and one of them was think globally, act locally. So my question is about climate change. Peak oil has passed. Robins are being spotted in Nunavut. Humanity could be on a very, very short coming very soon. So my question is, as mayor, how do you take global vision to become sustainable and bring it to the forest city?
Okay. So as mayor, what can you do to help worldwide fight against global warming? We'll start with David.
I personally plant trees. I also support the projects that plant milkweed here in London to bring the monarch butterflies back. I believe that it's these little small actions that add up and will be substantial at the end of the day. It's the river health that is important. So if we stop dumping sewage, it's a trickle-down effect. If we put less salt on our road in the winter, it will trickle down into our river, and it will have a big effect in the long run. Thank you.
I certainly I certainly agree with the negative impact of climate change on our economy. And I think as Londoners, the tragedy is that the forest city has less trees per capita now than we've ever had. In my capacity as government, we've made significant, in the past, made significant investments in reforestation and supporting Reforest London. But I would think that that's one of the initiatives that we need to do that ties as well into issues around clean water and recycling. And I think of the old days when we used to say things like reduce, reuse, recycle. We have to do that, but we have to say it and we have to mean it. Here we go.
As you all know, I was a consultant around the world in the oil and gas industry. But my wish is that we do not burn one more drop of oil because we are killing the ocean. That's we cannot deny. We in London, I support the green bin and I support recycling 100%. My wife gives me heck every time I put a can or something that she can put it into a recycled bin. So I'm trained. Thank you.
The impacts of climate change are very concerning. We've seen them here with significant rainfalls. We've seen the flooding in basements throughout neighborhoods in the city that don't have the adequate resources in terms of wastewater management, and the city has been doing a lot of work on that. We have to recognize our waste diversion strategy that this council just passed, and even 2 years ago, Stephen Turner and I tried to move green bins ahead at that point. Unfortunately, council didn't go on with that. But another thing is gas emissions from vehicles, and the best way to reduce that is get more people on public transit. And you might have known I've been trying to do something about that.
Thank you. Obviously, public transit will help. Being conscious about recycling is also a good thing. One more thing that I'd like to raise an issue is perhaps not wasting resources is a very important step, such as not invest into streets that we're going to have to do every year. Perhaps, and when we're building a street, make sure that it's going to last for 10 years at least before we dig it out again. That could be an idea. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to say I really support solar panels, getting off fossil fuels in every way, electric cars, more electric charging stations all over the city, just things like that.
I think our climate is failing because we're lacking priority for sure. I think recycling and finding positive ways to eliminate our ozone falling apart and other things going on is most important. I think poverty is one thing too. It causes a lot of sickness and illness that screws up our climate. I think we need to build more trees, and I would invest in that for the animals. They're coming out into the city and getting killed. That causes famine and so much more.
My campaign is a green campaign. I will not have election signs on lawns because they're going to end up in landfills. I'm running online. I'm running on social media. I'm a champion of the green bin movement. You get a green bin. You get a green bin. You all get green bin. Look under your chairs. No, we need this. And we finally have charging stations for electric cars being put throughout the city. We're getting there, guys, but we could use a push, and I'm here to help.
So the environment is a big global issue. It's also a national issue and a provincial issue. The question for all of us here on stage is, what can the City of London do? So we start getting a little bit more narrow. For me, that would be the landfill site. We need to divert more pollution into the Thames River. We need better approaches at that. We're flushing way too much sewage down there. We need to treat it better and scrub the stacks better and put better cleaning on the tailpipes.
So thanks for the question. Obviously, what can we do locally to influence globally the climate change factor? I'm a supporter of Council's move to green bins. I would like to tie it with same-day, one-per-week garbage, just to make it a little easier for people, just until we get momentum. And then the other thing that is really something I'd like to focus on is our raw sewage dumping. We're dumping 320 Olympic-sized pools into our riverfront. There is a way to stop that and stop that flooding in the basements, and I think that needs to be a priority in our city to save our river. Thanks.
We're called the Forest City for a reason. And last election, when I ran, one of the things in my election platform was to have more trees. Because I always lament when I see a tree being cut down, because that's extra shade and extra green space that we need to keep our namesake alive. In terms of what the city can actually do, we can start having more energy efficient homes. We can make that an actual requirement for any new build. We can, as suggested before, we can have electric buses. And I definitely want to meet our 60% waste dispersion target.
I think it's important that we concentrate on renewable energy sources, solar on new builds. We need to retrofit a lot of our vehicles, our city vehicles, not just by law enforcement, to geothermal also. To follow up on what Paul was saying, I lobbied the city in 2010 to replace separate storm and sanitary on York Street, and it's finally being done now. So you can thank me for the traffic woes there.
It says, well, I just came up with a great idea. Right now, the only things that there are deposits on are beer bottles and liquor bottles. They should have deposits on every bottle of pop you buy and every kind of container you get at the grocery store, so you can take them all back and get everything recycled. Thank you.
Okay, that question raised some interesting discussion here about green bins, which has been coming up at least for a decade at City Hall, but it seems like this next term push is really going to come to shove on it. So while Andrew's looking for our next question, we're going to pin you down on this. Green bin, or sort of a curbside compost pickup that'll be side by side with garbage and recycling. Will you support it? If your answer is yes, raise your hand. Okay, and sorry, if your answer is no, raise your hand. Okay, everybody's guaranteed to have a mayor who's going to support green bin. So Andrew, next question.
So while I look for another question, I'm going to sneak in with one that's come up. As a proud Londoner, I love this city, but we have a lot of vacant buildings, especially in our core. What are you going to do, if elected mayor, to ensure that we do not continually have these buildings bought up by a certain developer, and that we have a plan to use these buildings? And I'm talking about, one of my favorite buildings is the old Central Library, but there are numerous examples of that. So not just the heritage buildings, but all of the buildings. And the parking lots. Thank you.
All right, so Ed, I think you're first to go.
Next. Well, firstly, I don't think that legally we can stop any one owner from owning more buildings, but I think we have to create the opportunity from a business standpoint to make those exciting, exceptional, and a great opportunity. We're putting more residential downtown than ever before. Well, one of the things we might do with some of those empty stores, what about putting a food store downtown? Wouldn't that be an interesting idea? But I think you have to create a climate where you can make business investment make work, so you have a strong balance of residential and commercial downtown.
Thanks, Ed.
No matter what you want for downtown, we have to be a business-friendly city first. Our mentality at City Hall, Andrew, is not a business-friendly city. And the only way to get those buildings built and the parking lots full of grocery stores and whatever businesses you want, we are actively killing downtown, and then we're subsidizing businesses to come on down. So we're doing some stuff backwards. And we got to get our city into a business-friendly mentality first. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Andrew. Through my work on council, I was the one that raised the motion to get rid of the vacancy tax rebate, so people were not getting rebates to have empty buildings in the downtown or elsewhere. Another motion that I raised and was passed unanimously was to reuse our parking lots and not give any more temporary parking lot uses to property owners, but instead you should build to what it's zoned for, to have good quality homes in our downtown. We have incentive programs in our downtown that are thankfully offered through downtown London to rehabilitate your heritage building, and I won't sell it for downtown London, but go downtown.
If elected mayor, I'd like to negotiate perhaps plans to rezone those areas that are too old that need reconstruction. That doesn't mean the heritage houses or important historic valued buildings. I'm talking about perhaps Old East or places that are really, really destroyed so that people can have a better permit, maybe build 2, 3, 4-story buildings. If the land is bigger, build high-rises in order to turn them into income properties, whether it's residential or commercial, to bring more employment and money and abundance for the city. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to let Ed know you can get groceries downtown at the market if you ever been there before. Just saying, right? Check the Burex out. They're pretty good. Yeah, you know what? I'll just leave it at there. Tanya had some great points.
Go ahead, Nina. Nina? Okay, maybe we'll... Nina, do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I think we need to put all joking aside a little bit more. I think lives are very important, and I think that in general, we need to think about the capacity of our Earth as well. It's cracking, right? And we need to be careful on how much we build, and we need to maintain what we have.
I'm not big into real estate. I honestly did come home and there was just a sign on my door that said, "We now own this building." There was no for sale sign that went up. If somebody can just scoop things up, I don't know how it's being done without these things being put on the market. We got to do a way better job of letting people know these spaces are available before they just get snapped up. We got to promote our town. We've got to bring people in here and showcase what we have. We have the means, we're just not doing it. Let's fill London. Let's expand, let's grow.
So if I understand the question, is City Hall friendly to business or is it more of an enemy to business? Why do we have so many empty properties downtown? Look at Detroit. Detroit is so bad, the beavers are coming back down by the river. Is that what we want here in London, a bombed out urban core? So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of obstacles for businesses to set up. Some of that we can clear away. Some of that we can make progress, make it more efficient, and we can do that together.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I think our council has done a pretty good job in setting policies around welcoming business downtown. I think on policy. Where we're breaking down is around process and our ability to attract companies and having them endure our processes in order to refine, revitalize, or refurbish buildings. So my focus is going to be on process, and my intention would be to bust a gut to make darn sure that people who are looking to invest in our community are facilitated and welcome to do so. And if we can do that, I think you're going to see a restoration of downtown like no other. Thanks.
Empty buildings. I see this happen all the time. And part of my platform is to challenge developers to build better buildings and architecturally significant buildings to put us on the map. What I would like to do is I would like to hold open competitions with developers, and not just ones in town, and see if we can get people interested in buying these properties and redeveloping them. I also want to actually sit down with developers, and I want them to bring an architect because I want to sit down and discuss with them my vision for London. Thank you.
I have property downtown. I'm not the person that Andrew's talking about, though. I think what we need for downtown, it's desolate in some places. It's not because people wish to keep empty storefronts. We need a more conducive environment down there. We need the infrastructure, the non-glamorous underground infrastructure to be corrected to make it conducive for businesses to come downtown. We can't interfere in private enterprise.
Yeah, I'm not the guy he was talking about either, and I don't own any property downtown. Myself, I really don't know personally about what heritage sites are good for London, but that's with what I've been talking about, getting everyone together on the internet and getting you people would be great. So how many people have computers? How many of you? Oh, you gotta be joking. Well, if we get all the people together, they will tell me what needs to be done.
As a millennial, I'm just happy if I could buy a shoebox at some point, personally. I would like to say that I support what Councillor Park had done while on council to get rid of the vacancy rebate.
So thanks to all of you for being so disciplined with your answers so far, and that gives us just enough time for one more question. I believe Andrew has it near the back.
Yeah, if we elect each of you, what is your plan that others has no that plan?
Okay, so I think the question is, what makes you, what one thing makes you better than the other candidates? It's a good question.
What makes you good for this job? Yes.
Right. What makes you good for this job? So Paul Cheng, we'll start with you.
I'm so glad you asked that. Time starts
30
now.
seconds, Paul.
I am a hands-on management guy. I am in the crisis management mode, and they pay me a lot of money around the world. Our city is in crisis. First order of business, the first 100 days, I want to get in with planning city department. Get the lowest, the longest hold-up plan, and I'll sit with them every day for the first 100 days, 7 to 8 o'clock. Let's get them. I will not make the decision, but I will ask, what is the hold-up?
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. If anyone on the stage, I'm the one with the experience of running the business of this city. I've sat on every committee at Community Council. I've sat on every board and commission I could. I sit on 8. That's a lot of meetings in 1 month, let me tell you. And we as a council put forward the first multi-year budget in Canada. We were lauded by Moody's. We were given another year of a AAA credit rating, up to 43 years now, the longest in Canada. I've got the skills, I've got the experience, and I know City Hall inside and out.
Thank you for asking the question. I don't think it's a good question to say who is better than the other, but I'm going to tell you why is it that I'm different from the others. And I'm different in that sense that everybody that's here tonight, they chose to run for the mayor. I've been asked to run in the City Hall since 2003. And I've always said no. In fact, it's recently this election that I've agreed to do that. And because I believe in unity and diversity, and I have a lot of experience with the community. Thank you very much.
I have 3 business diplomas from Toronto School of Business. I'm a salesman first, a businessman second. I will sell London all around the world and get a lot of investment.
Go ahead, Nina.
I'm a woman of experience. I came from the hardcore life. I've overcome, I've worked hard, and I know that London, Ontario needs a lot more priority. We need to invest and take the tax dollars that good working people like you have invested in and use it properly. We need to maintain London, Ontario with a lot more treatment going for addiction, and a lot more of priority needs to take place.
Well, I'm a community producer. That's what I do. I champion London. I want it to succeed. You know where I live? I see fist fights. I see knife fights. I see people injecting their friends in the neck because they can't find a vein on their own. This is where I live. This is where we all live. It's 10 blocks that way. Something's got to change, man. I'm tired of jumping into these things on an individual basis. We need more cops. I don't know. We need more security. We need more help. I'm here to help.
I've been working with the social services, the mental health community now for about 30 years. A lot of you people, I'm not sure if I can say it generally, you might walk past these people, the homeless downtown. I don't. I get to know them. I talk to them. Sometimes I buy them a coffee. So I would encourage you to get to know them as well. If you can, buy them a coffee or whatever, a donut. Don't pass them by. If I can do it, you can do it. They're dying out there right now. They don't have to. We can help them out. Show them that you have a heart. It doesn't take very much. It takes a few minutes.
Thank you for your question. I've been very fortunate in my life, and I've had great opportunities, and I've had great experiences, and I want to bring that to London. I have a proven track record of delivering on visions, seizing opportunities, and frankly, dealing with some very difficult challenges. I know how to build teams. I know how to build a winner. I've done it all the time. And I don't need this job. I want this job because I want to have the opportunity to serve people like you. This is what it's all about. And it's now a choice for you to decide which of us is most qualified and which most cares about this city's future. Thank you.
I'm actually I'm trying to fight for everybody's survival with this city. I care about London, and I've cared about it for a long time, and I want to lend my expertise to London. I've worked overseas. I've been all around Europe. I understand the lessons that they went through, because there's usually about a 5-year delay between what happens over there and what's brought here. And those lessons and experiences I want to use here. And I want to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes and that we prosper. Thank you.
How does one answer this question without sounding cocky? I'm one of you. I am a Londoner. I am somebody who was born and raised here. I've got friends, family. I'm one of the people. In response to what was said earlier, I've been to numerous planning committee meetings, civic works, know the workings of City Hall as well, have probably showed up to more planning committee meetings over the last 4 and definitely over the last 8 than the person who mentioned it before.
Okay, let me see how I can make this sound good. It's potentially possible with this number of people running that we can have a person elected with, say, 15% of the votes. And they are the one person you got. The other 85% didn't get who they wanted. Well, if you got me, I'm planning on building a site for everyone to make discussions on things. And what we can do is have a special section just for all the guys that ran and let them all work, so we'll have every single one of us as being the mayor. I'll just be the one to show up and cut the ribbon.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you very much. I've never been accused of being quiet, but I really do appreciate the microphone. What sets me apart is the fact that I am young. I see a future, and I want to make sure that my parents' generation is remembered as the generation who got us back on track. I want to help everyone in London start to make the commitments for a 1 million resident London, for a London that exists 50 years from now, that it will be at the end of my lifetime that I'll be able to sit back and say, I'm proud of what I accomplished over a very long life. Thank you.
Well, first, let me say I think the 13 people in front of you truly care about this community, and that's why they're in front of us today, and I honor them for their commitment to us here. Folks, it's a question that is important because there's a lot of things we need to do. We need to bring our London leaders together. We need to get our senior government officials, provincial and federal, working with us because we can't do it alone. And we need to promote job growth, and we need to take care of those who are less able to take care of themselves. What I believe that my experience brings to this position as mayor, and it's an honored role, is one that includes my business, my community, and my political experience, and I hope that you'll consider that as you exercise your vote on October 22nd. Thank you.
This brings us to the final portion of the evening, the closing statements. Each candidate will get up to 1 minute to summarize their thoughts and their campaign, and we'll be going in reverse order. So that means we're going to start with Jonas. Yes, come to the podium. Closing statements?
Yeah, I just wanted to say 2 Octobers ago, October 7th, 2016, I was accepted into ninja school in Japan, and on the first day, I went 9-0 for Canada. I won 9 fights, and Junichi Kawakami made me his right-hand man for life. He's my soke for ninjutsu sensei, and he's the only ninja practitioner recognized by the Japanese government. If I'm good enough for Junichi Kawakami, I'd hope I'm good enough for London, Ontario.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we're all here because we wish well for London. I'm here myself because I want to see great things for our community. I want to see improvement. I want to see flourishing, everybody living in abundance. I want to see new businesses. I want to see a lot of good opportunities for everyone equally, not just for preferential treatment or interests of a minority or a majority, vice versa. I have different plans and platforms. I wish somebody would ask of each and every one of us what the platform is. I would definitely name them to you, and you would see that there are a lot of ways to bring income and abundance without spending money. We need to start in those projects in order to have the money for investing in the projects that require money. Thank you very much. I hope you vote for the right person. Thank you.
I'm asking for your vote because I need your help in creating a city where everyone benefits from our growth. We boldly came together 4 years ago to create the London Plan, which was about building a city for our future prosperity. We need to boldly come together again and finish that work. It is time to us come together for a future where every Londoner is included. Your vote for me is the first step to make sure everyone has an opportunity to participate in London's prosperity, because London is our home. And when you're at home, everyone matters. Thank you.
I learned the hand symbol, and I'd like you to take a guess. You know what that means? Change. Change is what we need. Honest change. Our city is not only divided, our city is fractured. We're divided not only along party lines, we're divided along economic lines. And now we're divided amongst economic and ideological lines. As mayor, I want us to do the things that we must do. Relieve the congestion on the roads. We cannot have Western and Oxford congested back to Colburn and back to Cherry Hill for the next 30 years. That must be fixed. We must do the things we must do now, and the rest, the long term, we can talk about it, but we must do the things we must do now. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank the Aeolian Hall and Rogers for broadcasting tonight's discussion. I think we all appreciated that. May I also say thanks to Andrew and to Pat, but also to all of you for your participation in democracy. Look, as you heard us all tonight as candidates, I think we have all primary agreement on most of the issues that impact us, issues around jobs, affordable property taxes, reliable transportation, and supporting those that need a helping hand. But I believe that the core issue is experience. And I would ask you to consider who has the business, political, and community service experience to bring people together in a collaborative manner to get things done for our city. I hope you believe that as a business leader, member of parliament, cabinet minister, and leader of more than 40 community organizations right here in our city, that you think that I have that experience, and I look forward to putting that experience to work for you as our mayor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much again for coming out tonight. I'm a believer in Bus Rapid Transit. I'm a believer in our green bins. I'm a believer in our future. I believe that if we make the right choice on October 22nd, a vote for Millie will be a vote for that future. It may be Cheng for change, but it is Millie time. Thank you.
See how I can do this. Step 7, the right to rule. It is not enough to be heard. The power of petition must progress to the actual management of the government. That's what I've been talking about doing for 20 years. And if this isn't done worldwide within the next 20 years, this planet is doomed. We will, by 2030, we will need 5 of the Earth to supply ourselves. I'd like to read a little bit out of this Urantia book on page 1489. Peace will not come to Urantia until every so-called sovereign nation surrenders its power to make war into the hands of a representative government of all mankind. Political sovereignty is innate with the peoples of the world. When all the people of Urantia create a world government, they have the right and the power to make that government sovereign. And when such a representative or democratic world power controls the land, sea, air, and naval forces, peace on earth and goodwill among men can prevail, but not until then.
London is at a crossroads. We need to make the right decision on October 22nd. There are too many issues facing London in the next 4 years and possibly further. On October 22nd, I would like for you to put your faith in me and give me your vote so that we can move forward as a united community and not a divided one. We need to be inclusive and constructive and not exclusive and divisive. And I think if you put the trust and faith in me, I will execute this office with the greatest of integrity, accountability, transparency, and accessibility. Thank you.
To echo my colleague, this election is important. This is where ordinary people that we elect are elevated up to serve Londoners. And I support BRT and the London Plan. I've been done so since the very beginning. As mayor, if I was so elected, I want to guide council and direct the city to a better tomorrow. London deserves better than the status quo. She deserves a quality mayor. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to preface my comments by just thanking everybody for coming tonight, thanking the Aeolian Hall for hosting this event, for Rogers for covering it, and to Andrew and Patrick for hosting the event, and to these fine group of people who have taken the time to put their name forward. I certainly hope the bar is open, but more importantly, really what I'd like you to do, it's very difficult to learn about any candidate in 30-second sound bites. I encourage you to check out the websites of all of the candidates, most notably PillatoForMayor.com. And most notably, I hope you do the deep dives that are necessary. This election is incredibly important for the future of our city. There are some good people and there's some good choices before you. The choice that I'm hoping you make is me, obviously, and the reason I'm hoping I can gain your support is I'm not interested in photo ops or hyperbole. I'm interested in rolling up my sleeves for the people of London. I feel really good about our chances and our opportunities as a community, and I would like to have the chance to lead that vision. Thank you.
Yeah, hot night, boy. Thanks for coming out tonight. That's very good of you. Almost a full house. Aeolian Town Hall. Boosting the arts brings people here and keeps people here. When I came here 40 years ago from Canada's largest city, people wanted to come to London. Now people are wondering why they should stay in London. The arts. Aeolian Town Hall, great music, great arts. Thank you very much for all the organizing people. Some people say that we are a small town, we are small-minded. We don't have to be. We can show them that we have heart. On October 22nd, vote Dan for mayor.
I heard it said, someone up here, I won't mention any Pilato names, doesn't need the job, wants the job. I need this job, man. Listen, this job, I don't know if you all know, this job pays 6 figures. I got 3 jobs, man. They combined, one of them pays me in beer. You're gonna see such hustle. I'm a member of the community. I'm in the community. I want to be out there with you guys. I do want the bar to be open. No, I'm in it. I'm in it every day. Everything we've talked about, BRT, I take the bus, the needles, I pick them up. I was actually trained by the Middlesex Health Inspector on how to do that. Sad that that's going around, but I'm in the community and I'm for the community. And Balloon Fest, man, it's been 10 years. Bringing it back. Minter for mayor.
Should be worth 10 cents.
You know, I think that you need to vote Nina McCutcheon for mayor because I have experience. I am out for the citizens. I want to hear what you have to say. I think that our climates are very important, and I think that a treatment plan is very important. I think that we need to economize, prioritize, and we need to get serious. Lives are depending on it. People are dying. And without people, we don't have job placements. We don't have structure. We don't have anything. We need to invest in health and people's lives. We need to have an activist that goes out and does something about these things. We can't have somebody that just sits there and talks, sits in the office all day. We need to go out and see what the problems are, invest in it, and grow as a community. Work together. I want you to be a part of that.
And that's all the time we have for what I must say has been a really dignified, informative, and surprisingly entertaining debate. So thank you to thanks to all of you for that, and thanks to everybody for being here. I hope. Thank you for taking the time, hundreds of you, for being at this debate. It says a lot about the importance of this election specifically and City Hall in general. And thank you especially to Aeolian Hall for hosting all the debates that are going to air on, they've had them all here, and they're going to air on Rogers over and over between now and Election Day. And that reminds me to remind you that on October 22nd, it's very simple, just vote. I'm Patrick Maloney. Good night.
Due to the length of the preceding program, we now join the regularly scheduled program already in progress.
With this figure, this is home field, and this was after a long winter, and I think that everyone around me I found was really just longing for spring, and I think that we get busy, we get disconnected, we get caught up in the politics of the day and the news around us, and it's disheartening and it's sad, and we lose track of that essential spiritual connectedness with ourselves and with those in our world. And I think it was really just a expression of that longing that I felt myself and knew that people around me were feeling as well. And I tend to work with figures, and sometimes, but they're sort of amorphous. They're a little bit anonymous. And what I'm doing is inviting you to walk in and meet yourself there, and meet yourself in the place where things are quiet and beautiful. And, you know, beauty doesn't mean that there isn't hard parts, that there isn't sorrow or creative block.
Of course.
You know, but it's being able to see, experience, and feel the full gamut of all of that.
Okay,
And
our time is actually almost wrapping up. It goes by so quickly. So Danielle, talk about Westland Gallery, and Erica's work is showing there, and the importance of Erica will be there to be able to greet some of the people appreciating her work.
Yeah, I think that was a beautiful example of what is kind of so special to Erica about us, about Erica to us at Westland Gallery. Her work is moving, right? And to hear her speak about it is beautiful. I was lost in what she was saying there. So I would definitely encourage everyone to come out, see the show, and come and meet Erica either at the reception, which we're having the Friday night, or an artist talk that we're hosting on October 3rd. You can find all that information on our website or our social media as well.
Okay, so what is the website? Where can people get more information?
So westlandgallery.ca. We put a lot of effort into our website. It's definitely worth looking at. We've got every piece of art that we carry is up there. Every show is up online, all the events and things you can find happening in the gallery.
All right, thank you very much, ladies, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Okay, it's time for a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking hockey.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
For over 50 years, White's Rental has been providing local contractors and members of the DIY crowd with professional quality lawn and garden tools, aerial lifts, and construction equipment. White's Rental, we have the right equipment to make your project easier.
Duramed, helping you stay independent since 1999. Accident, illness, or injuries, short or long-term solutions. We have experienced staff to help you choose the products you need. Fast, friendly, reliable. Duramed Mobility, your one-stop shop home healthcare store. At Huron Flooring, we employ our experienced sanders and refinishers. We only use hard-wearing, environmentally safe finishes. Huron Flooring, the one and only hardwood flooring store you'll ever need.
When you have so many great songs, there's just no need to play them over and over again. Your no-repeat workday station.
Nothing but the perfect music mix while you work.
Easy 1013.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back, and joining me now is Marie Howard, and you're with the George Bray Sports Association, and a big celebration for the association this year. You're turning 50, the big 50. You've been with the association for a long, long time, so first, for people who aren't familiar with it, tell us a little bit about it.
It's a hockey league that's exclusive for children with special needs. So basically, intellectual disabilities, any player or any child who is in the school board systems that's on an IEP qualifies for our program.
And how do children get involved in the first place? And the hesitancy, is there hesitancy at first? They must be petrified to put on those skates and get out with, you know, players who are much bigger or better or faster.
The parents sure are. Sometimes more than the kids, to be honest. It's pretty interesting. There is a lot of parents out there for sure. There's a lot of them that just basically will say no, basing it all on the opinion that this is about hockey. And you know, hockey is our venue. We're about, you know, friendship. We're about camaraderie. There's an awful lot of life skills that take place there that really can't be taught any easier than in a game situation. You learn to share the puck, you learn to take your time, you learn to take your turn, you learn to sit, you learn to win, you learn to lose, you learn to get mad but not be overboard, you get happy but not overboard. And these are all the life skills that kids with intellectual disabilities, they don't get to experience them day by day. They have to work with EAs, which often put them in the corner of a room somewhere where they're by themselves or a couple of people only. A lot of them don't get out recess with others. They don't mingle well with others. Well, maybe they haven't been given a chance to mingle well with others. We can mask all of that with a hockey game. And they learn, you know, you walk in a dressing room and there's 12 kids in there. Well, right now you're making friends. I've had parents say to me, you know, we just joined today, and a mother crying, just crying out loud, that basically her son, the second week of coming to hockey, he's 12 years old, got invited to his first birthday party.
Wow.
Just because now they're with people that open up and accept each other easier. And that's why it's often called a large family.
And people who are also struggling with their own issues, right? So I guess they can identify with each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've been doing this, well, around 44 years now, and I've never really had a problem with any animosity or problems, hostilities from player to player. They get it, they understand it better than we do.
Right, so you said that earlier that the parents often have trouble with it. So is it generally the children who are dragging mom and dad and, come on, let me do this, let me do this?
Sometimes, yes. A lot of times the kids are, if they've got autism or a processing issue, they're a little more conservative themselves, so they're kind of held back a little bit. Parents are concerned. Of course, hockey can be considered a rough sport. We don't have any body checking.
Right.
We call penalties the same. What we do that impresses most people is we call the game identical to any game of hockey. So they're a little concerned about maybe falling in that. We've got 240 kids playing now on 18 teams, and last year we had just over 100 players wearing loaner equipment from us. I have a loaner equipment program, and we have to supply that because, again, you know, we think your son or daughter will do great in our hockey league, even though they may have had problems with other organizations they've tried to join. It only costs you roughly $500 for hockey equipment to give it a shot. And what are you going to do with the equipment later? Right. So we have to break down all those barriers of making it difficult for them to come out. So there's those, until we can get that message across to people, until they realize that, you know what, Johnny, I'll bet, can skate. He may not skate the way you think he should skate, but I'll bet he can skate.
Right.
And I'll guarantee you, we'll get him out there on the ice.
And we've got the equipment to loan you to keep them safe.
And we have
while
skate
they're
mates.
out there.
We have folding metal skate mates that they lean on to get their balance going. And we've got probably at minimum 65 volunteers. And we have a lot of one-on-one out there on the ice. And we've got fundamental programs, hockey schools, learner skate schools.
And both for boys and girls?
Boys and girls. We have lots of girls, yep.
And
absolutely.
what kind of age range are you talking?
My juniors are 7 to 12 years old, based on ability totally. We start with the age and then base them on ability. Intermediates are 13 to 17, and seniors are 18 and older. So my youngest is probably 6. Sneaking in under the 7, and my oldest now I think is around 42 or 44.
All right,
we
and
let
then,
them play right up through.
So do you need donations if people have used hockey equipment that they can donate? Do you accept that?
We have for many years. The only issue that's happened for us recently is we were at a Glencairn Arena which had a lot of storage rooms. We've just been moved over to Kiwanis because they're closing
Kiwanis
Glencairn.
or Kinsman?
Kinsman, I'm sorry.
Kinsman,
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Kinsman Arena. One of our sponsors is Kiwanis. So Kinsman Arena, and it's got a lot smaller area. So we're having a little bit of a problem housing too much of the equipment right now.
So you need storage space. You need someone to donate storage space.
Yeah, that'd be nice too. Absolutely. That's a good pitch. Yeah, we'd like that.
All right, and very quickly, what are you doing for your 50th?
So we've had some fundraisers. We've had some silent auctions. We've had some special banquets for the kids. Just a lot of good fun and a lot of celebrating and realizing that this program has existed for 50 years in the city of London. There's so many people don't know anything about it.
Right. Okay, well, we're changing that right here and right now. Thanks very much for coming in, Murray. Time for a quick break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Check your toilet for leaks. It's easy to do, and it can help you save water and money. Each year, a leaky toilet can waste more than 200,000 liters of water, enough to fill a large swimming pool. Learn how to do a simple leak test at london.ca/leak test.
After you sort your recyclables, trucks collect and bring them to London's recycling centre. They are unloaded in 2 piles, paper and containers, for further processing and shipping to end markets. Thank you for sorting your recyclables.
Mercier, Mirage, Superior. We sell the best hardwood flooring brands. We employ our experienced flooring installers. Huron Flooring, the one and only hardwood flooring store you'll ever need.
With the London Nationals, I'm usually on camera 1, which is a tight shot. So I grab players' faces and I follow the puck around for the entire game. And during whistles, I'll grab either the coach or any player on the ice. I love being a volunteer at Rogers because I get to work with so many different people, and I get to work with equipment and directors and producers to actually create shows and mobiles, and I can use that to apply to my future.
This is Rogers TV, London.
Welcome back. We're going to talk now about diversity in London and celebrating that diversity. There are rather long names and titles associated with this, so I'm going to pull out the cue card. Joining me now is Kash Hussain and Rifat Hussain, and you're connected and members with the Diversity, Inclusion and Anti-Oppression Advisory Committee with the City of London. So the annual awards are coming up to celebrate diversity in London. And Kash, let's talk with you. Tell us a little about these awards, who they're for, what they mean.
Yeah, the awards were established almost 20 odd years ago, and at that time they were known as the Race Relations Awards. And since then we've kind of morphed into making them more inclusive. And so now we've changed the name to the Diversity, Race Relations and Inclusivity Award. So now it's there. The purpose is the same, but it now brings in additional elements within the disability or the diversity movement.
And what are those different elements?
Well, we give out 5 awards each year. These awards, by the way, are presented by the City of London, so they're City of London awards. The 5 different categories are large and small businesses, large and small not-for-profit or the social sector, and another, the last category is in the youth category.
And what are you looking for when someone nominates somebody to receive one of the awards?
Well, the awards are given for the initiative that is being undertaken by the organizations. So we're looking for creativity, we're looking for inclusivity, we're looking for is it a new type of initiative that's been undertaken here in London, how long it's been doing, what are the outcomes and such of this new initiative. And does it involve just one group, or is it far-reaching and such? So it takes a lot of time and effort for us to review the applications, but we've had some wonderful nominations being submitted in the past, and over these years we've had some really incredible. We've been able to celebrate really incredible initiatives that have been undertaken here in the City of London.
And Rifat, now talk a little bit about, you're a member of this committee, talk a little bit about the atmosphere in London and when newcomers do come and they're looking different, they're sounding different from what might be considered a typical Londoner. Talk about the atmosphere and is that diversity, how big an issue is it still in London?
I think it's becoming more of an issue now than before. My family and we had arrived here back in 1972. So growing up in London, it wasn't as diverse as it is now. And people are recognizing the diversity. People are recognizing and appreciating that You know, London is not just one entity, it's a multitude of entities. And as far as Canada is concerned, we always say that it's a mosaic, it's multicultural, but at the same time, it's also very multi-ethnic. And London is becoming that. You see that when you go out into the streets, the diversity, you see the various colors in terms of the clothes, the food, the atmosphere. Yes. And I think that's what draws people in to know who your neighbor is. And the key word there is getting to know someone.
Right, so how hard is it to break down all those barriers?
You know what, we talk about it a lot, and what I've noticed is that in order to break down any barrier, you can always smile, because everyone smiles in the same language. Everyone. Yeah. And when you feel that sincerity, it then compels you to say hi, how are you? And that could lead into a conversation.
All right, and let's talk briefly before we wrap. When will these awards be handed out, and how can people nominate somebody?
Yeah, so the awards, the nominations are currently open. People can go to the City of London website and find the link under the Advisory Committee and awards. Complete the application. The deadline is September the 30th. And once we receive the applications, or the nominations, I should say, the committee sits down, reviews them, and then presents them to City Standing Committee and then to City Council. So we have a celebration that takes place at a City Council meeting. So everybody is there and everybody is able to acknowledge and appreciate the work that's being done here in London, and the Mayor is the one that hands out these awards.
And do you have a date for that yet?
Not exactly. I think it's going to be sometime late in November, especially now with the council and the elections coming up, so things are kind of condensed, so we're just waiting to get the final dates and such in place.
All right, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about this very important issue. Hopefully we'll get to a point where this award actually is never needed anymore, because we're all just embracing that diversity that's now in London.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right, thank you very much. Now stick around, because when we come back, we're going to get moving with some belly dancing.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Don't get caught unprepared this summer. White's Rental is your one-stop shop for lawnmower tune-ups and repairs. You can visit us at our new location, 785 Little Simcoe Street.
The way London votes has changed. This October, we'll be the first city in Canada to use ranked choice voting. Voters will have more choices, with the option to rank first, second, and third choices for mayor and city councillor. Learn more at london.ca/elections.
With the London Nationals, I'm usually on camera 1, which is a tight shot. So I grab players' faces and I follow the puck around for the entire game. And during whistles, I'll grab either the coach or any player on the ice. I love being a volunteer at Rogers because I get to work with so many different people, and I get to work with equipment and directors and producers to actually create shows and mobiles, and I can use that to apply to my future.
Watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back. We're going to have a little bit of fun now with some belly dancing. Luna is going to join us now, and she'll show us some belly dancing in just a minute, don't worry. But for now, Luna, you're here today to talk about a belly dance heart and soul show that you have coming up. So tell us about what that is all about.
So I have a troupe and I teach classes here in London, and there is a belly dance community around in London and other area, Kitchener, Hamilton. So this is a show about belly dancing and about the heart and soul of it, which is the dancers that actually come out to the stage and then just give it their all. So what we're doing is showcasing our troupe as well as other troops, and showing different styles and different things that we do in belly dancing, just to get people familiar with what we do.
Right, so you said that there is a community here in London.
Yes.
Are people kind of intimidated to try belly dancing at first, thinking, oh, I could never do that?
Yeah, sometimes, but it looks a lot of fun, so it takes a little bit of a push for people to actually come to the class. Sometimes they bring a friend, sometimes they're like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and they come to the class and they find that they love it, and that's my goal, that people will learn to love it and do it for performing or for the exercise or just to get out of their house for an hour and do something different, something new. So that's, people usually find that they have some sort of affinity, either it's the music or the exercise, or it's very good for your relaxation and all that. So for different reasons, people come to the studio, they love it. Sometimes they don't perform, sometimes they just like to watch, sometimes they're very excited about it and they end up performing with the troops. So we have all kinds of reasons why people come to us, and yeah, sometimes they're a little intimidated, but it's not, they get over that, and once they try it, it's totally okay with them.
Now, we tend to think of women being belly dancers, but do you get men showing up too? Or are they showing up just to watch the women doing the belly dancing?
They've showed up a couple of times, and they've actually liked it, and they like the exercise, but they don't really stick with it. Mind you, for the show, we do have a male belly dancer. He does tribal style, American tribal style, which is an improvised style and is more earthy, more you see a little bit of a mix with flamenco and African dance. So it's a different style, and he's going to be teaching a workshop as well the day of the show, which is September 22nd. So he is very good, and he also does traditional belly dancing. So it's not unusual to see male dancers. There's not that many of them, but they do it as well.
Okay, and there are a lot of different styles. You referred to the tribal style, but there are others as well.
Yeah, so depending on the region, belly dancing came from the Middle East.
Middle East, right?
Yeah, it's not known exactly which country, but depending on the region, there are different characteristics to the dance. So you have, for instance, the Turkish dance, where you toss your hair, and there are lots of spins and turns. You have the Oriental style, where you are more stylized, your movements are more soft, a little bit almost like a ballet type of thing. So the Egyptian style is more bouncy, more depends on the music, and the music is also different. So there is a wide variety, and that's what we're going to have at the show. We're going to show many different styles, some more cabaret styles, some more folkloric, so you get to see all kinds of things. Also props. I'll be doing a sword dance, where I'll take my sword and I balance it on my head as I dance. We'll also have some people that do the wings of Isis, so these are like big veils that are attached to some props, so it's huge, they look like wings. So many different styles that people do, and that's what we aim to do with the show, is just for people to see everything that we can do within dancing, belly dancing.
Right, and you mentioned the benefits exercise-wise. I did a course in belly dancing years ago now, but it really is a good workout for your torso.
Yes, it's actually a total body workout, because you use your legs, you use your arms, your core has to be engaged the whole time. So even just having your arm up this way for a period of time is great exercise for you, improves your posture. And it's not just physical, there's something good for your soul about it too, because you leave all your problems and all that at the door, and you come in and you focus on this, and you don't have no time to think about your stress. You're just there, you're doing the exercise, you're feeling the music.
Right. Okay, so talking about feeling the music, you're going to show us a little bit of belly dancing. Yes. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today, and thank you to the crew working behind the scenes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of What's Up London. We'll see you next time. And Luna, if you'd like to take it away and show us some belly dancing, show us some of your moves. Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
With Showcase, feel free to savor the suspense.
What did you do to your parents?
They died.
To binge the blockbusters.
Let's go to war. I didn't think you've ever known a woman like me.
Feel free to feel the power.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. I know.
Feel free with Showcase, now in free preview.
Bladder cancer. It's the 5th most common cancer in Canada. The main warning sign of bladder cancer is blood in the urine. So if you see red, see your doctor. Finding a cure for bladder cancer won't be a walk in the park, but it's a great place to start. Please show your support and register for the Bladder Cancer Canada Awareness Walk at bccwalk.ca.
You're watching Rogers TV.